Hello there, my name is Bruce Rain from Brankus Creations and welcome to my stream. Thank you to everyone who has joined. I can see we've got Trina, we've got Steve, we've got Scarlet Swordfish, we've got me, that doesn't count. Dana is here, Oz Retrocomp, Michael. Thank you to everyone for joining, I do appreciate it. If this is the first time watching one of my streams, please jump on and say hello. Always like to hear from you. Today's a bit of an unusual one. It's a Friday morning here in Sydney, oh, finally got notified. That's good to hear that the notifications did actually work. But yes, I would normally around about this time be part of the Maciac live stream, but for those who have been following along at home, we did our live stream on Tuesday, as a response to the Worldwide Developer Conference 2020. Hello, SadMac356. So yeah, I had a little bit of a break in my schedule. I've got a huge amount of recapping work here to do at the moment. I've been getting about a board a day at the moment, which is keeping me busy. I was thinking about streaming yesterday, but I ended up working on a Macintosh LC II that was giving me a great deal of grief, and thankfully managed to sort that one out. So that was a good one. Got that another LC II working again, which is always nice. Stenophonic, thanks to Vince, finally successfully recapped the 2CI. Awesome, that's great to hear. 2CI, one of my favorites. I really do love the 2CI, and that's mainly because I worked with them back in the day, and they were just the fastest thing ever when they came out. And so I always have lots of wonderful nostalgic memories. So using System 6 on it, we were at the time too, believe it or not. I'll give you an idea of how old I am. So Michael has just mentioned the elephant in the room, which of course the changeover to ARM chips for Apple. If I'm just going to voice my own opinion, I mean, we did obviously all talk about this during the Maciac, sort of on Monday/Tuesday. But my personal opinion is that it is not at all surprising. Apple is a company that I think does not like dependencies, and I think that when they have in the past been let down by other chip manufacturers, whether it be from AMD, from all the GPUs in their 2011 Macs, or whether it be NVIDIA, they had issues with them, or whether it be sort of Intel sort of not keeping up with performance, all that sort of stuff. I think that they have gone with the move where they are independent from those suppliers, and that's not at all surprising. That's a very, very, I think, predictable Apple move. But in terms of what it's going to mean for the platform moving forward, I mean, I have always liked the fact that Apple went with Intel, with the fact that it was sort of a known architecture, and that it was something that was being used by lots of different platforms. And I love the ability to be able to install Windows on the computer if needed. I mean, I hate using the thing, but I do have to use it sometimes. So if just getting that one out of the way, I do feel like it's kind of I don't know, it's a little bit like for Intel going back to PowerPC or something like that, but yeah, so we'll just see. I mean, it'll all depend. I mean, obviously in the keynote there was a very laughable moment where he was demonstrating that guy was what we would say in Australia, Craig, but what in America they seem to pronounce Craig, like it rhymes with Greg or something. But one of the things that really made me laugh was when he was demonstrating how great, it's just great. When he was demonstrating how great it was, he was demonstrating it with Word. I mean, okay, maybe the demographic, maybe most of the people, they get excited about how well it works with Word. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's not really. I'm certainly not that demographic. As someone who has sort of two classic Mac Pros, I've got one down here in the workshop, one up in the house. I like the more performance style machine. So anyhow, that's my opinion. I'll move it. If people want to voice their own opinions about that in the chat, I'm more than happy for that. Obviously, we are going to be talking about much more vintage computers today, but I certainly don't mind if people want to you know, sort of voice their opinions about the whole ARM situation. That's fine with me. So yeah, anyhow. So today I am going to be recapping a Macintosh LC II. I have quite a few recapping jobs on the books at the moment, but half of them, more than half of them, are color classics. And I've basically figured that if I just keep doing color classics, this is going to just become known as the color classic recapping show. I've got, yes, two more. I do have an slightly interesting one that I might bring out after recapping this. It sort of could be a little bit more interesting than just my normal color classic live streams, but we'll see. Okay. Oh, Jay, thank you. Welcome to the stream. I hope I haven't got in the way of your dinner time. I know that based on experience from the Maciek streams, that this is normally right on your dinner time. So, yes, I'd say I was going to be down here in the shed doing stuff today anyway, so I'm thinking I may as well live stream it. Oh, I haven't got my light on here. I've got to have that. Classic Mac recapping show. Yeah, I mean the thing is that I've actually got a what is it, mid 2013 MacBook Air, 11-inch MacBook Air to do at the moment. I've got a 17-inch MacBook Pro. I mean, it's not just classic stuff that I'm doing at the moment. When kind of word got out that I fixed some of the newer Macs as well, I started getting, you know, sort of started getting people saying, hey, someone told me you do these as well. And then they started sending me their computers. The one sort of exception with computers that I generally don't work on, and this is mainly to do with space, is I don't do bubble iMacs, the big G3 iMacs, or you know, sort of eMacs either. And that is basically just to do with space. I just don't have the room to keep them. When you have to pull those things apart, you end up with just piles of plastic all over the place. Then you take the boards out and you work on them, and then if you don't fix it right away, if you have to wait for a part or something like that, you're left with a table full of plastic bits. That's fine if people want to do that themselves, but I tell you, if you're trying to do that with like a few of them at the one time, just totally impractical. So I generally don't work on those, and that might seem a little bit mean. One day if I have a bigger workshop and I have more space to do it, I will, but at the moment, no. I didn't see any Final Cut Pro demos in the keynote. They even said it's already been rewritten for ARM. Well, didn't they show 3 4K streams running simultaneously for a brief second? Someone riding around on a BMX bike. I'm sure there was a little, very brief Final Cut Pro bit in there. But yeah. I mean, Final Cut Pro is probably the most CPU intensive thing that I do on computers these days. In the old days, it would have been 3D. I used to do quite a bit of 3D illustration, but yeah, it's these days it's Final Cut Pro, and yeah, I mean, I've got a 5.1 sort of classic Mac Pro that I do that with. It's got, I think, 32, maybe 64 gigs of RAM. I don't know, something like that. It's got a lot, and it's got a dual hex core CPU or whatever it is, something gigahertz. Can't remember exactly, but yeah, and an RX 580 in there, and it flies in Final Cut Pro, to be honest. I mean, it goes really well, so no complaints there. Okay, so now dinner done, dessert done, and TV time done. Perfect timing. Oh, for once I got the timing right, because I was a little bit rude yesterday. I said that I was probably going to live stream yesterday, and then I didn't end up doing it. I ended up working on something that was very hard for me to stream. So yeah, so I got in trouble. I got in trouble for that. I got in trouble from Steve today as well. He contacted me. He said, excuse me, but if you're going to have LC, it's got to be a space between the LC and the 2. I'm just kidding. He didn't say it like that. And he's right, of course. And I did realize that afterwards, but I couldn't be bothered going back and redoing the thumbnail. It's right in the description, and it's right in the written title, but it is incorrect in the thumbnail. The LC and the 2 are right next to each other, and there should be a space between them, as you can see from the photo of the computer itself. Okay, so bigger studio. Yes, that's right. Trina has just mentioned. Don't you mean a bigger studio? I've said before that this, although it may look like a shed or a workshop or something along those lines, this is actually a very expensive and elaborate studio that is made to look like a shed. So yeah. Steve will be in and out recording stuff. Good luck. Thank you. I know what he's recording, but I won't give it away. I know exactly what he's recording. Right. Now, all right, okay, all right, okay, right. I got to get on with this now. Let me just, because I did have someone on Facebook say today, please let me know when you have finished recording so that I can fast forward through all the boring bits. Now, of course, my response to that was there are never any boring bits in my live stream. Come on. But nonetheless, I did, this is job 32. I do feel sort of an obligation to keep things moving. Right. Okay. So as usual, I have my little system here, and I take all the RAM and bits and stuff out so that when I let's just go to a side view here. Oh my goodness me! How bright is that? I think I might need to fix that. Just bear with me a second. I'm just going to jump across to that camera and turn it down a little bit. Gosh, what happened there? Not sure what happened there, but yeah, we were a little bit bright there. So, it's getting a bit cold here at the moment, being our winter over here. Okay, so I've got all my little bits here. This is the RAM and the the VRAM and the RAM that came with this board, and a little battery holder. And we're going to pop that away, and then we're going to have a look at this. Now, just straight off the bat, I mean, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it here, but we have just got Smear City going on over here. Let me just go here to that's an interesting name. Excuse me, Nana. All right, okay, so if we have a look here, you can kind of see if the light reflects off it, particularly this area here. If I can get the light, at the right angle, yeah, that's kind of seeing. You can see how it's shiny over here, and then it's kind of dull around here. It's just all that leakage. It's really smeary, and this is actually one of the real problems with the LC, LC2, LC3. They've all got the same situation. They've got this little cluster of caps right here, and they all leak, every single one of them. And so you end up with a right mess. And then, of course, these ones over here are leaking as well. So we're going to have to go in and replace all of these. Yes, it is a sponge forest, that's for sure. And we'll have a look at these under the microscope. And this is obviously why, once it's recapped, it's all going to have to be very well cleaned as well. Yes, will Bernadette be making an appearance today? Well, she's certainly wandering around. If you're ever wondering why it's just the one chicken, it's because it's the smallest chicken I have, and she is small enough to fit through the bars of the gated off section we have for the chickens. I have actually got quite some absolutely huge chickens. I'd love for you to see them, but it would be a bit difficult. The biggest chicken I have is actually partially blind, yeah. So, all right, let's get some focusing stuff sorted out. A little bit of calibration to make sure that when I look at this, I'm seeing it with the same focus that you are. Makes life a lot easier. There we go. All right, so here's our sponge forest over here. Now look at that. Look at the smeariness of it. Just in case anyone has any doubt about the whole leakage thing, I'm just going to grab a little cotton bud Q-tippy type thing and, ooh, look at that. That's just one little bit that I've just, one little wipe, and you can just see all that leakage there. So that's all stuff that really should not be here. So yeah. And yeah, so anyhow, that all has to be sorted out. I think what you've got there is a little sound chip, little teeny one. Yeah, but anyhow, a couple of things worth mentioning about this board. It does look a little bit like earwax, doesn't it? This is kind of an indication of LC low cost, what Apple were doing at the time. So we had the original LC, that was a 68020 CPU. We've now gone up to a 6803016. So this is the same speed theoretically as a color classic. But you know, looking at it from the perspective of Apple keeping the cost down, sell this as a low-cost computer, they didn't want these competing with their more expensive products. They didn't want to be in a situation where a graphics professional could turn around and say, you know what, rather than spending the extra money on a more powerful one, g'day JJ Brubaker, thank you for joining. Rather than you know, graphics professionals spending money on a more powerful, you know, rather than buying this instead of a more powerful one, they did things to these to kind of really limit them. So they capped them at 10 megabytes of RAM. So it doesn't matter how many, speak of the devil, doesn't matter how many, oh, what are you doing up there? Never seen you up there before. Just climbed to a completely different location. She's feeling very adventurous today. You can probably hear her flipping and the flapping. I don't know what she's probably just looking for insects. Okay, so yeah, so this is limited to sort of 10 megabytes of RAM in the ROM. So it doesn't matter how much RAM you put in it, it is always going to only show 10. So that's one of the things that sucks about it. But then you see these gaps here. I mean, there was the option to put more RAM on this, and they didn't. They chose not to. They chose to keep these empty. And what about this here? This void over here. That void happens to be where an FPU can go. So this whole architecture allows for a floating point unit, a math coprocessor. It allows for it, but they didn't put the socket in because they were like, no, we're not going to give people the option to make this a faster computer. No way at all. So LC3, interesting enough, did have a socket there. You could put an FPU in, but not the LC2. You know, again, cost-cutting measure. Why the dislikes? Or am I getting dislikes? Well, it's good. I enjoy it. I honestly do not mind whether you like or dislike this, as long as you do one of the two. I mean, in actual fact, if you do nothing, it doesn't mind either. I am not someone that is you know, sort of living their life for likes. I can tell you that for sure. I have 15 viewers here at the moment, and so thank you to all those 15. I do appreciate it. Okay, so whenever I do a recapping, what's one of the things I always have with me? My cheat sheet. There we go. This is one of my really early ones, and I can tell because it has no label on it. All the later ones that I've done actually have the name of the Mac on it. Not having the name of the Mac on it was a bit of a major sort of mistake for me, because I wasn't labeling them for myself because I just recognized the boards, but then I realized if I'm going to make these guides for other people, I really should label them. So I've got to go back and do this one. But anyhow, this is the cheat sheet. You will find a link to it down in the description. It takes you to my website, Recap a Mac, where I have quite a few guides for recapping Macs. I have quite a few in the wings that I need to get up on there. For instance, I did a 2FX the other day, and I've got a guide for that, but I haven't put it up on the website yet. The 2FX, incidentally, for anyone who was watching that, I still haven't got that one working yet, but I have some real issues with the ROM sim. It has some absolutely horrendous corrosion on it, and I have some concerns that the ROM might be the cause of the problems. So I am probably going to get up and move this chicken. I mean, if she just settles herself down, that's fine. But yeah, so I've actually ordered a big mess of wires, Rominator 2. For those who aren't aware of it, it's a ROM sim that you can buy that's been made up that will work on I think any of the ones that have a ROM slot in them, which I think is like the 2FX, the SE30, the 2CI, SI, I think those, and the ROM sim. Actually, I think it has an operating system in it, so you can even boot straight from the ROM into System 7 or something like that. So, let me just have a quick look at here. Still cheating if Bruce is cheating for his own cheat sheet. Yes, well, I mean, You know, it just it's so much easier to work this way, because otherwise you've got to, you know, like take one off and put another one on so that you know what you're removing, and this way you can just whip them all off and then put them all back on again. I can just see something falling down. I can see something just crashing to the ground. This chicken wandering around. It's going to cause some carnage. I think she's on her way down now. Where are you heading? Where are you off to? I wanted to see what's going to happen next. Sorry you can't see this. It's quite amusing. Oh, she went out. Just flew straight across the room. Yeah. Okay. As I said, she's a very small chook, so she actually flies quite well. All right. So that's enough of that. Let's go in and start getting some caps off, shall we? So we're going to start off up here in this little cluster of caps. We're going to start removing them. And we will probably apply one of my little heat shields that I use. I've shown them in my streams many times before. They're basically just blades from those little extender blade type things. Oh, look at that. Look at that nice thing there. Nice bit of dark there. Let's just check and see that we've got copper happening underneath that, which we do. That's all fine. That's just a clean and service for that one. Okay, so these are the little blades that I use with a little spring to make them stand up on the board. If you haven't seen these, if you haven't watched my streams before, you'll find information about these on my other streams. I use them for all my recappings. We should get Mike's cats and Bruce's chickens together. Well, I've actually got 3 cats myself, so we don't need to go all the way to America for that. So I am just applying some Captain tape. For those who don't know, again, there are links in the description where you can buy this stuff. It's heat-resistant tape. What's also really nice about this is it's a tape that really doesn't leave residue behind. If you have tape like this and you stick it on something and it's there for years, it's not like normal sticky tape that when you peel it off, it leaves something behind. So, so I'm just going to put some of this on the serial number. I just want to provide some additional protection for the serial number, because people do often get a little bit funny about the serial numbers. So I'm going to have to just be a little bit careful here, make sure I don't melt anything as I remove these caps. I've got that sitting right on top of a bit of solder there. That's going to make life difficult, isn't it? You can't see, can you? I was going to say, there's something I was going to mention, but I can't remember what it was. I'll try this again. I'll try this again with a little bit less tape there. Madeline, hello and welcome. You'll be pleased to know the parts came in yesterday. I already have your 15-inch MacBook Pro with a new battery unit working beautifully. I've just got to do all of the stuff to the 17-inch. The main issue with that is the fact that I have to change the keyboard, but I figured that wouldn't make a very good live stream, because anyone who's ever done a keyboard replacement on a MacBook Pro will know it involves unscrewing and screwing in again like about 120 screws, little tiny little black screws. So that's something that I figured I would just reserve for a little bit of, you know, sort of self-calming sort of moment. I'll do that. I won't bother to live stream it. Otherwise, everyone will be going off to Nodland. Even more than usual. All right. Let's see if I can get these off without melting this serial number. I really am going to extraordinary lengths to make sure I don't melt this serial number, aren't I? Come on. Can we do this? Can we do this? Bob the Builder. Okay. Captain 318, hello, thank you for joining. Be down next Wednesday or so. That's perfect timing. Because I am actually planning to do a little pre-recorded video at some stage, not some stage, this weekend, working on using another computer of yours that I have here at the moment, which I won't mention, because I don't want any, I don't want a spoiler. So, yeah, but it's a particular computer that I don't have in my possession very often, so I thought I would take the opportunity to do a little YouTube video about it. So, yeah. Oh, and speaking of which, guess what I got the other day? I got a Quadra 950. Don't see them come up very often, but I got a Quadra 950 two days ago, I think, something like that. Look at that stuff that's burned with the heat coming on there. It's sort of this sort of scungy stuff has just gone black. Right, now we're going to just try and get these all off in one go. Shall we just move away around and just go pluck, 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 pluck? Because it is quite advantageous to remove these clusters in one go because the board gets hot, which just makes that process easier. Are you talking about the Quadra 950 trainer? I got it from, it is my own, but I got it from a customer. So a customer of mine went to a sale, like an e-waste sale thingy, and bought a few computers, and you know, then offered the 950 up for sale, and I just went, ooh. So yeah. So as I say, it is now mine, but it is it was from a customer. The big issue I have with the 950 is that it is just so big. When I don't know what I'm going to do about storing it, where it's going to go, but I'm very happy to have it. Okay, as you can see, we got quite a few off there in one go. I don't think I knocked any other components off. These are actually coming off really easily, and they're not popping. Anyone who's watched the Mac 84 live stream, where I think it was either an LC or an LC 2 or 3 or something, and all the caps kept popping on him. I mean, I feel for him, but it was very funny to watch. Okay. Oh, that one popped from the table. There we go. So that was our first pop. What I hate when I'm removing these is the way they stick to my tweezers. These ones are actually quite good, but sometimes when you're removing, they stick to your tweezers, and they're just like trying to get the things off. Okay. Okay. Oh, hello, Matt. I didn't see you come in before. Hello, welcome back. I hope your internet starts being more reliable for you. Yeah. I mean, so in my office, I have a classic Mac Pro, and then sitting right next to that is a G5 tower, dual, 2 gigahertz one, and I've got them set up, and I've got it so that I can remote access the G5 from my classic Mac. So I can just sort of flip across, and then I've got that one set up so it'll boot into 10.4 or 10.5, which is very handy. But I'm not sure if I have enough room to put the 950 next to it as well. We'll just see. Oh, what happened? Did I knock something off? Diode resistor thingy came off. Thank you. Oh, are you talking about this guy? This guy here? Yep. I'll have to put him back on. He is a resistor. His little number is 101. And generally the way that works is it's the 1 and then it's 1 0 and then another 0. So what does that make it? Like 100 farads or something? 100 microfarads? Something like that. I can't remember. Hey, let's test it and find out. Shall we? We'll find out whether my calculations figure out. You watch, I'll lose it. This happened to me before. I put it on the little tester and then I lose it. It is 98.6 microfarads. So I was right, it's 100. So it is that number 10. You have 10 and then 1 indicates how many zeros follow it. So it's 100. So there you go. Okay, so Was that the only one that came off? Was there any more? I mean, I'll go back and have a look. Once I clean it, I'll know. I've actually got a spare one of these boards, so if something goes off into the distance, I can grab it from another source. I will clean this before I put it back on, just because it's a good thing to do. And I've still got 3 caps to remove, but we've got all of that cluster off. That's the main thing. Yeah, that board really does need cleaning. There's no doubt about that. I am not going to deny that. I'm nearly finished with my yucky flux, so I'm just going to use that here for cleaning. This is the stuff that comes out this translucent color, and I hate it. And there goes my alcohol. My ISO alcohol. Very important stuff. Okay, so cleaning. The joy of cleaning. I'm just going to clean up those pads a little bit. They're not too bad. Once that gunk comes off, we're all good. And then I get my wickety whack. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. I had them just a little while ago. And when I was setting up here before, I was like, there we go, here's some. Alright, and then we'll just get rid of the solder and just tidy up. Like that. Make those posts. Oh god, that stuff stinks. Uh-oh. Does anyone here speak Spanish? I can see something. It's Quadra 650 AV. That doesn't. It's 660 AV, isn't it? I've got one of them, and it's certainly one of my faves. It's in the big pizza box. Now, when I'm doing a resistor like this, what I will typically do is get a little bit of solder onto the pads first, just like that. And then I'll use my hot air station. I might just lower the speed of the air coming out of it. And I'll grab my capacitor, my, what did you call it, resistor? Where did I put it? Does anyone remember where I put it? Ah, there it is. I really didn't put it in a very safe spot. That was pretty stupid on me, but that's okay. Okay, now, what I'm looking to do is just allow the surface tension of the solder to pull the component into place, just like that. So, a bit of flux, and a bit of hot air, not too much hot air, and it will just float itself into its spot. Nice and neat and tidy. Yeah. Okay. Hey, what happened to the Quadra 650 AV? The last 3 videos, I will have to go back. I don't think it was a 650 AV I was working on. What was I working on? I can't remember. I can't remember what I was working on before. So yes, I'm not sure. Not sure. Okay, so we've now corrected the little mistake that I made by accidentally removing a component that I did not want to remove. Thank you everyone for spotting that. I'm sure I would have spotted it eventually, but it does help to have a few extra eyes. So now we've just got 3 more caps to remove, and they're round little sort of clusters of plastic. You've got your RAM slots here. You've got your power plug here. So yeah, let's get that sorted. Come on. There we go, that'll do. Oh god, I didn't face it in the right direction, did I? Let's try it around this way. So I can actually get the hot air onto it and not melt anything. How are we going to do this? Come on. Use your brain. Use your brain. Right, that'll do. I think that'll do it. Oh god, that stinks. I mean, they always smell, but this cap in particular really stinks. Off she comes. Ouch, ouch, ouch. I touched the end of my tweezers. That's not a euphemism. I touched the end of my tweezers, and they are hot. Let me turn this thingy off. Off. Come on. How do I turn it off? Come on. Come on. Switch off. There we go. Sometimes this just switches itself off, nice and easy. And other times it just sits there. Who knows? I made it myself, so... if you have, tell me what. Yes, I'm not sure. This could be difficult trying to carry on a discussion in two different languages. I'm not... I am happy to try, but I am just saying that it may not work out terribly well. I know how to say care. Stay up. Just stay up. There we go. That'll do. Okay, let's get rid of these ones. These are the last two caps here. Got ourselves a 4716 and another 4716. Had a very interesting one with an SE30 I mentioned before. I was working on an SE30 before, and I just want to remind people, if you have an SE30 and you haven't recapped it, please get it done. This one that I was working on yesterday is basically a problem being caused because the electrolyte had been on the board for such a long time. It did some terrible corrosion damage. Got it working, that's all great, and it's all clean, and it's all ready for another 30 years or whatever, but you know, it's a job that would have been a lot easier if it had been recapped a little bit earlier in its life. So yeah, okay, so let me just have a quick look here, make sure I'm not missing anything. I have 20 viewers at the moment, so thank you to those 20 people that are watching. I do appreciate it. So now we've got the absolutely fascinating part of going in and cleaning all of these pads, and as usual I'll just get my flux. Anyone who's not sure what flux is or what it's for, flux helps to kind of halt the oxidization process of the solder, which allows that solder to flow much more easily. I have a hair attached to the end of my flux dispenser here, so that's great. It doesn't seem to want to come off either. I mean, at all. There we go. Keep fluxing, fluxing, fluxing. I mean, there's no doubt about the fact that the LC series have all of these. You know, LC, LC2, and LC3 have all of these. Oh, JJ Brubaker, thank you very much. I do appreciate that. Grab a coffee on me when you're done. That's very nice of you. Thank you. I will do that. Okay, so yeah, one of the good things about the LC, LC2, LC3 is, yes, okay, there are loads of caps and they're all crammed close together, but it does make the cleaning process a little bit easier because you don't have to move around that much. These pads are going to come up looking delicious. Shame we didn't see any new hardware during the Worldwide Developer Conference. I mean, other than announcing chips. It would have been nice if they were saying, hey, we've got a bunch of new iMacs here, and we've got a bunch of this and a bunch of that, but no, it was a bit dull. I got up at 3 in the morning to watch that thing. I wouldn't normally do that, but because I was on the Maciac show, I wanted to make sure I had seen it, and it was quite good because we were all chatting with each other at the time. We were all just texting each other, talking about what we were seeing. Okay. Nastiest MacBook Pro I have ever had in my shop. Not touching anything else while I'm working on this with gloves. Come on. Come on. Where's your sense of adventure, Jay? Give your immune system a workout. I generally find the worst laptops when I'm working on them, the ones in the worst condition, are ones that have come from kids. You know, school kids. You know, like the parents brought it to me going, "Oh, this laptop's not working," and it's usually because of some level of mistreatment. I don't want to put it all kids into a box about the way they treat their computers, but obviously these computers that are going to and from school every day, they get knocked around a fair bit. And yeah, I've seen some pretty gross ones. Needless to say, I send them back clean, just so that they can see what the difference is. Got some slightly nasty looking traces around this region. I'm probably going to, what do you call it? Oh, I didn't put solder on this one, did I? Let's see if I can just do it without. Too bad. Oh, God, I haven't got the fan on, have I? So it's getting a little bit cold here, so it isn't my automatic instinct to turn the fan on. Let's get rid of that. Where do we go? Okay. What have we got here? Right, I'm grabbing fresh gloves now. Funny. Oh dear. All right. Okay. I don't know if anyone can hear the chicken in the background, but one of the chickens out there is making a statement. They usually do that when there's something they're not happy about in the vicinity. It might be a cat walking by, or it might be a bird, you know, a predatory. But oh, look at that trace! Look at that trace snaking its way up between there. It's nasty. Okay, working our way through. Oh, I didn't do these ones, did I? Alrighty then. This one's a little bit nasty here too. I'm probably going to have to clean that up. I'll show you what I mean in a moment. I made a clean spot. Yes, I know. Just one little clean spot in the middle of it. Got to be able to get to the, you know, got to be able to see the traces. You've got to be able to see how bad it is. I do occasionally get people saying, look, why don't you clean this before you recap? And the main reason for that is because I make a lot of mess while I'm recapping. So if I was to clean it beforehand, I would have to clean it again afterwards. And if I can, I like to just try and get it all done with a single clean. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you clean and you have problems and you have to go in and fix those problems, and then you have to clean again, but as much as possible. So I've got a little black bit there that wasn't coming off easily, so I'm just scraping that away. You can't see it because it's off camera. There we go. It was there. It's not there anymore. Oh, And now I've got a cat talking to me as well. Yeah, I mean, this is actually one of the great things about getting a board like this and then cleaning it up. When this goes into the ultrasonic cleaner, it comes out, it's looking absolutely sparkling clean. It's great. You know, you take something that looks really, really scungy like this, and it ends up looking like new. Oh, hey. Little Family Guy reference there for anyone who didn't get it. A character in that show that has my name. Okay, we're still going with the cleaning. Sorry, folks. There's a lot of pads here to clean. I'm getting through them though. Oh, you were able to see it. Oh, that's good. I'm pleased. I have mentioned this before on the streams. I will mention it again for anyone who's new. When I'm looking through this microscope, I see a circle. My field of view is a circle. But what gets shown on the live stream is a rectangle. And so imagine a rectangle sitting in the middle of that circle. What actually gets broadcast is a lot smaller than my field of view that I have. So I often end up working in that field of view, and then I look up and realize I'm not actually filming what I'm doing. This microscope that I use is a binocular, or what they sometimes actually refer to as a trinocular microscope, in that it has two completely, I'll explain the trinocular in a second. It has two completely separate optics, one for left and one for right, which means that when I look through this, I am actually seeing a stereo image. I have actually got depth perception of what I'm looking through. So that allows me to really work very well, because you can see, you can see with incredible accuracy, exactly where you are, not just left and right and up and down, but also, sort of vertically as well. So you're working in a 3D space a lot easier. Now, the reason why I said trinocular is because they actually have this camera connected as well. And obviously this is the binocular, that's the trinocular part there. But in actual fact, this just shares the same optics as the left eye, I'm pretty sure. So there are two little sort of lenses down the bottom of this microscope. And yeah, this camera here just shares, using prisms and mirrors and stuff, shares my left eye's view. So yeah, just wanted to explain that. When it comes to doing this stuff with a good quality optical microscope like this, it makes life a lot easier. You can end up doing incredibly precise work that you end up making it look like you're doing some sort of microsurgery or something like that, but it's actually not that hard. Once you've had a chance to just get used to working with a microscope, you can do really, really precise stuff. I mean, I did this the other day. This might seem a little bit silly, but this is a needle. I'm just going to see if I can go into the side view here and zoom in on it. I may not be able to, but this here is a needle. We've all seen needles before. It's a sewing needle. No big deal. Still zooming, still zooming. Okay, now let's just get this out of the way for a bit. See if I can see this. There's my hand. So there's a needle. There's just a normal sewing needle. And what I did with my Dremel is I actually carved away at the end of it to make it more of a, there's my big fat fingers so you can get some scale from it. I carved away at it so that it actually is a long, thin, sort of like little shaft rather than coming to a complete point. And the reason why I have got this is because often when I am doing trace repairs, I want to run wires through these holes. And these holes, they're often filled with solder, that's normal, but sometimes they're also filled with a UV mask, or this green stuff. They're actually filled with the green stuff, and you've got to poke that green stuff out. And if you use a normal needle, it's really hard to do, because you get to a certain point and you can't get any further. But I have actually gone in and customized this needle to have this fine point on it that I can shove right through the hole there. you know, I can fit that right through into that and poke it out the other side. So, and that is something where, you know, if you were trying to do that without the use of a microscope, you would just be making an absolute mess of it. You would just be snapping the end off all the time. And so, yeah, you're able to actually get some fairly precise work done when you're using a microscope. So, yeah, just wanted to make that point. Makes it look a lot harder than it actually is. It's actually quite easy. Now, I've got a few things to address here because I do see quite a lot of dark traces around and little spots on them. Now, if it's just basically darkness on top of the trace and the copper still underneath it, we're all fine. But and just you know, for instance, I don't know if you can see that black dot just there, right there. I'm quite sure that, yep, there's copper underneath it, but I just need to expose that, and then I'll paint it over with UV solder mask later on. Now, we've got a fairly big one here to address. So I mentioned it before, and that's this big, thick black one snaking right down there. We're going to have to sort that out. And as you can see, it goes right down between these pads here, which means I'm going to have to UV solder mask it after I clean it. Okay. Num, 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 num. Would you consider that a Brankus creation? It is indeed. Yes, it is a Brankus creation. And it was actually, I did it the other day and it was surprisingly easy, and I'm annoyed that I didn't do it earlier. It just makes that process so much easier when you want to feed wires through the holes. So just, you know, when I've got videos on trace repairs. I've done those before. If anyone wants to jump on my channel and have a look, I've got a trace repair video. And what I do, if I need to run a wire from one side of the board to the other, I feed the wire through these vias. Now, obviously, it needs to be the right via. I can't just stick it through anyone, but it needs to be the right one. And the reason why I do that is to avoid something like this. This is a board that someone sent to me, and I'm no criticism to this person. As I always in my videos say, I like to see people doing things themselves and sorting out problems. But this is where they've had you know, some damaged trace. Sorry, I've got to zoom back in again. Sorry about that. Let's light out of the way. They've damaged the trace, and they've run a wire, but they need to run the wire onto the other side of the board. So they've run the wire through here, and then onto the other side. Now, it's fine. I mean, it's a sort of repair I would have done once upon a time as well. But this is one where I'm going to actually try and do this in a different way. It saves me from having to have that wire snaking its way across the board. So just mentioning that's why I like to do the trace repairs that way, because it means they're a lot tidier, but not just tidier, safer as well, stronger. They're much less likely to get bumped and fall off, that sort of thing. So, right, so we've cleaned up all of those. I just need to get a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. Interesting thing, I mean, people I'm sure were aware of the incredible shortage of isopropyl alcohol during the COVID situation, because people were buying it to make their own hand sanitizer and stuff like that. I just got so lucky with the timing on that I had bought a 5-litre bottle just before the whole COVID thing started. And it was interesting because I was thinking to myself, oh, I'm sure I'd still be able to get it from my supplier. And sure enough, no, they were completely sold out of every single size bottle they sell. They've got it again now, but at the time, if I had needed it, I would not have been able to get it. Yeah. More cleaning, more cleaning. How's everyone doing out there? Ooh, pardon me. Apologise for the boringness of this. I'm just working my way through, even though I know it's not boring, even though I know it is absolutely riveting for everyone. No, I jest, of course. The biggest fear with these things, of course, is melting plastic. I don't want to send any boards back to the customers with melted plastic. It's just not how I roll, man. Okay. Lemon, pepper, fish, and rice. That sounds like a healthy meal. You know what you need to do? You need to batter the whole thing and fry it. That'll make it way nicer. Shopping for a T15 screwdriver and some DVD-Rs, yeah. Actually, while I've got the hive mind here, does anyone have a handle on buying bulk quantities of 3.5-inch floppy disks? I jump onto eBay and I see people trying to sell them for like, I don't know, 20 bucks for a packet of 10 or something like that. It's like, come on. You know, I want to buy like 100 or something like that or more, and I don't want to get, you know, taken to the cleaners. I mean, they're just ridiculously expensive. About 5 litres full as well. Alcohol lasts me much longer since I started rinsing in distilled water. Yeah, I mean, like I don't change the alcohol that I rinse in very often. I'm talking about rinsing the boards, not myself. That would be very bad for my skin. Yeah, I don't need to change it that often. I guess most of the cleaning. Oh, what's happening? My phone's ringing. It's keeping in mind, of course, it is in the middle of a workday here, but that looked very much like a spam phone number anyway. It looked like advertising or real estate agent or something. My mum's fruitcake she sent me. Oh, God, I love fruitcake. Amigas. Need someone to recap my Amigas. Yes. I've done a few. I've done, I think, 3 or so Amiga 1200s. And I've done 2 Amiga 600s. And I've done Amiga Power Brick. I've got one sitting behind me there. 7 capacitors in those. I'd fried chicken for lunch, so this balances it out. Fair enough. Okay, I can understand that. Shopping for some IDE CF card adapters and cables. Yeah, I keep a little stock of those in the cupboard. Bias Peterson, hello. Retro floppy. Okay, I'll have a look at that. I might have a trace on a bulk amount of floppy disk. I'll check with someone I know. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, so they're all cleaned up. Now we just need to go in and address some of these ugly traces. So the main one that I'm concerned... Oh, wow, look at that. Look at that fur. Is that from my Q-tips? From my cotton buds? Beep. Off we go. So, it's this guy here. This is the one that I'm most concerned about. So I'm going to just get all the coating off it first. And as we can see, we've got nice, clean copper underneath it. So we don't really have any breaks here, but we do have, you know, the start of the corrosion there. So what I'm going to do is clean that off, which is great that I don't actually have any breaks. I don't need to do any repairs. I mean, I will check with my beepity beep, but let's get the old beepity beep machine here. As I've mentioned before, I use a Fluke 115 multimeter. I wouldn't necessarily say to anyone else, go out and buy a Fluke 115. There are plenty of really good quality, cheaper ones. I bought this one basically because I had bought some, I'd spent a fair bit of money on some in the past and had real problems with them. And so I decided I would just stop that and just buy one that I knew was going to be good. And it is. It's a good multimeter. Okay, let's do some testing with the beepy beep machine. Let's first of all make sure, always do that, touch the pins together to make sure it's all on and working. Because if there's another reason why you're not getting the contact working, you want to establish that before you start going around and pointing things on the board. Have to breathe there from time to time. Busy editing a video with a stream on the side. That's good. That's what I'm here for. Keep people entertained while they're doing other things. Okay. Trace for it looked like it wasn't even there. Yeah, that's right. I mean, it can be a little bit deceptive. I mean, I was fairly sure. I mean, generally when they're broken, they have a slightly different look about them. I did find some broken traces on that Macintosh 2 FX I was working on the other day. But they're all around the power switch. They shouldn't actually affect, I fixed them, but they shouldn't affect and didn't affect that computer starting up because I was bypassing the power switch when I was testing that. 3 Amiga 1200s and an A600, a CD32 and an Amiga 3000 all need to be done soon. Yeah, well, can I tell you, I charge more for Amigas because they're a nightmare to recap those things. They've just got caps sitting right next to plastic all over the place, and it's a nightmare of a job. But anyhow, I do it. So, are you looking for 1.4 megabyte discs? I am indeed. I'm looking for the high density kind. Yes, thank you. Okay, so beep beep, put one there, beep. We're all good. We've got continuity between that, so even though it looked nasty, it's okay. We'll get some goopy flux on there, and I am going to coat that with a bit of solder or solder, depending on where in the world you are. Coat that with some solder. Here, just look at that. Oh my God. All right, here we go. Going to just gently rub that using my wick with some solder infused. And come on. All right. Oh, I'm a bit out of focus, aren't I? Sorry. Well, sorry about that. Oopsie. Now, you know what this means? I've got to go in and coat this with UV mask before I can go in and stick new caps on it. Now that's okay because I've got some other things that we can look at while this is drying, and the sun is out. The sun was out. I think the sun's out. I can get the UV solder mask to dry really quickly when the sun's out. So let's get this all cleaned up and ready for some mask. Randall Crook, hello. I've actually got an A500, interestingly enough. I don't, it's not a flashy one. It's not one of those flashy ones that has hard drives and everything. It's fairly basic. I have one of those Gotek floppy drive thingies, floppy emulators in it. But I don't, I know that there are way flashier things you can do with an Amiga, but I haven't done that much with the Amiga. The 500 doesn't need recapping, which is nice. Okay, so let's get some UV solder mask onto this. So I just cleaned it all up so the UV solder mask is sticking to the, oh God, same number. I wonder who's trying to call me. If they don't leave a message, they'll never get me. Right. Pretty sure I paid all my bills, so that's the main thing. Right. So I've got this new, oh, geez, it looks a bit dirty. Let me just clean this up a bit again. I've got this new paintbrush. It's a 000 size, so it's very, very fine, but it has a great big handle. Okay, I'll show it like this. Great big fat handle like that, so it's a little bit harder to lose. Shiny pads after clean them. Yeah, it is good. I do like seeing the shiny pads. It is very rewarding. I've gone silent because I'm concentrating. Sorry. Did that one leave a message? Oh, they left a message this time. That's nice of them. I hate phone calls. I'm just going to go out and say it. I hate phone calls. Unless it's from someone I know. When the phone rings, it fills me with dread. I just can't stand getting phone calls. Wish people would just send me emails. Okay, I want to just picken that up a little bit around here. Right, so that's looking good. Let's just see if we need to do any of that anywhere else. So that was a little bit dull. I appreciate that that's a little bit boring, me doing that. Also trying to fix an Apple IIc monitor. Hello, Alex. Late as usual. That's all right. Just warming up. Okay, so let's just, I just realised we've got a little bit more ugliness here. Just going to clean that up, just so that these things don't get much worse. It's really hard scraping off the screen printing. Getting the green stuff off is easy, but when you've got the white screen printing on, it's really hard to get that off. Right. Let's just get a little bit more goop onto there. And we'll get our solder again and wick and just try and coat that. Come on. Coating nicely, thank you. Now, okay, what have we got here? So what do you use to clean the solder mask off the brush? I just wipe it. I just wipe it with the tissue. It seems to work. I mean, if the brush stops being good for me, I mean, here's one that I've been using for a really long time, and the bristles are still kind of separate. Oh, maybe not. But yeah, I mean, they last for a really long time, even just cleaning it a little bit. You're going to clean up the trace just above it. Which one? Just looking around here. The main thing I'm looking for are any that I might actually end up with, like an exposed bit of trace. Let's just get this little bit of fluff off the board here, shall we? Fluff be gone. That one I'll need to clean up, but that's okay. That one should be okay. So what I'm looking for is any opportunity of creating an accidental short when I put the new cap on. You know, for instance, if one of these was exposed, I would be wanting to get some mask on those, because when I put the cap down, the pin of the cap is wider than this pad, so it hangs over the edge, and then I would be at risk of creating a short there. So just looking around this region. Looking okay to me. I mean, that one, of course, I need to coat, but yeah, okay. And let's just have a look at these ones over here while we're at it. And then what I shall do, I shall pop out and I shall put this in the sun. A little bit exposed here, but I don't think the pin will actually touch that. Oops. Apple monitors just need data to tear it down. Yeah, I find with monitors generally, most of the times you're working with a monitor that's failing or not working, it's going to be either cracked solder joints, flyback transformer, capacitors, or deflection transistor. So yeah, most of the ones I've worked on have just been cracked solder joints. So one of them was a flyback transformer, but yeah, so. I generally don't work on CRTs anymore either, because, as I mentioned before, I have a problem with space. All right, I am now going to just duck off for a moment, so I will bring up my little back soon thing. It won't be long, it'll only be a few seconds, but I'm just going to bring this up, and I'm going to go put this in the sun so that it will be curing that UV solder mask, and then we can stick the caps on, and when I come back, we'll have a look at something else. I'm back. Do you fix them as in monitors? Is that what the question was? Well, yeah, yes and no. I don't. I mean, I can, but I don't like them. It's not because, yeah, it's mainly just because monitors just take up so much space that I don't have. I've got one that I'm working on at the moment. Where I don't even know. Oh, there it is. It's up there. I mean, even the small parts are big. They're just a nightmare. So let me just put this all onto the side view here. So I brought this little board out before. This is something I'm just going to occupy my time with while that UV solder mask dries. It shouldn't take long. It's a little bit overcast, but the sun looks like it's peeking through every now and again. And when the sun hits that UV solder mask in full brightness, it only takes a few minutes to dry off that UV solder mask. If I use this UV globe thingy here, it takes like 15-20 minutes. So well, it was mainly the reefers that go. Well, that kind of fills that includes the capacitors part. So yeah, reefers can certainly go on those things, but other capacitors can too. All capacitors have a limited lifespan. It's just how that, unfortunately, well, certainly aluminium electrolyte ones, they have a limited lifespan. So more of caps too, may go and replace it. Yeah, look, Randall, may as well replace those reefers. Bit of future proofing. Put polymers in instead. Just make sure you use equivalent safety caps. That's the main thing. Okay. A 2C monitor fix might make an interesting vid for you. 2C I might do because that's so small. It's probably not going to take up that much space. So, I've used superglue to cover exposed traces. I don't know how well that works. Superglue is incredibly corrosive, though, isn't it? That cyanoacrylate. I use that stuff all the time, but I'm not sure I would use it for traces. So, all right. I mentioned this one before. This is a Color Classic board that someone has recapped themselves, and they're having problems, but it's an unusual problem. It's not like no sound, and it's not like it won't boot or something like that. It gives the chimes of death, which of course what you would normally expect if you had a RAM problem. Now, I'm assuming there isn't a RAM problem. I'm assuming we've got the right RAM in here. I mean, this looks like, it's not the best looking RAM, but it's 80 nanoseconds. I'm sure it's fine, but yeah, I'm getting the chimes of death. Now, I have basically said, yeah, nail polish I imagine works quite well. I mean, I have some stuff like a coating that's a nail polish that works, but I don't know how different the chemical makeup is from actual nail polish. But yeah. And of course, the other thing, it takes a long time to dry. That's one of the reasons why I do use it. I've got lots of other coatings. I've got a clear conformal coating, and I've got, the nail polishy stuff. But the problem with that stuff, it does take a while to dry. And if you want something to dry nice and quickly so you can stick something on it, that's why I use the UV solder mask. So what I want to do is I want to have a look at this under the microscope and just see if there is anything wrong with the original recapping. As I've said before, I'm always happy when people do their own recapping, and I'm not critical of what they do because my first recapping job was an absolute mess. And I just want to go in and see how they look, how the joints look, if it's going to be okay, and then why we might be having this problem. So here we go. Let's have a look at this gorgeous looking 68030 16 megahertz CPU. We've got to love them. And let's just work our way along here. So we've got a couple of caps here. Solder joints are a little on the large side. That's usually an indication of there being, the joints generally oxidizing, not enough flux, that sort of thing. But, at the end of the day, I think these joints are still making contact. I don't like the look of that one. Oh, that's not making contact. That one, this one here, if you have a look, I'll zoom in here. If you look at that, you can see, can you see that pin moving? So we definitely want to fix that one up. So let's just do that now while we're here. This will only take a moment. Get some of my gorgeous flux in here. Or as Craig from the Worldwide Developer Conference would say, just great. Just great flux. Looks a little nicer. And it's joined now. Should I clean this one up as well? It's a bit of a blob. The reason why you end up with more solder is too much solder is usually because you haven't got a good flux there. The solder kind of oxidizes quite quickly, and that's when you end up with, you put more on and then you end up with these blobs. So just going to tighten. That one there is not too bad, but the ones in the middle aren't too crash up. Took a whole stack of solder away with that one. There we go. Neater. What's going on over there? What's that all about? Let's get rid of that little guy, shall we? Don't want any little bits of solder floating around. I did it in a pinch, but now I wish I hadn't. Probably no safe way to remove it. I think the only way you can get what do you call it, super glue off is either with acetone or mechanically. And by mechanically I mean scraping it off. Okay, so they're the right cap, so that's all fine. They're 100 microfarad. They're both with the positives pointing inwards, which is how they should be, so that's fine. If you're replacing these electrolytic caps with electrolytics, it's really easy to get, you know, it's hard to get them wrong, and the reason for that is that John, hello, welcome to the stream. We were just killing time till you got here, so don't worry about it. When you're working with these surface mount electrolytics, you can see they've got these little bevels on the plastic on the bottom, and then you've got bevels on the screen printing, so it's really hard to actually get these wrong. So I'm just going to get a little bit of solder away from this one. I might look at, you know, seeing as I'm here, I may as well just tidy them all up. Do not wish to cause offense. It is not my intention, but I just figure if, oh, this one feels like he's not in the right place. Anyhow, there we go. Just get rid of some of this excess solder. Just going to tidy that one up. Yep. Is it even there? I just don't like the way this is so crooked. Yeah, the pin's there. All right. Yep, all good. We've got a little bit of meltage on the plastic on the bottom of this, but it really doesn't matter. As you can see, we've just got way too much solder here. It's a common mistake from you know, sort of when you're new to soldering, or you know, sort of having troubles and stuff like that. You generally just end up with too much solder. So let's just get rid of some of this. Going to tidy them up. Boom. Boom. Now look at all this solder I'm removing and now getting on my jeans. Okay, there we go. This is a little 10 microfarad. I think it's 50 volt, is that right? Or is it 6? I can't remember. I've got guides for that. I've got guides so I don't have to remember. Okay, we've got these ones here. Once again, we've got a little bit too much solder. As you can see here, you've got a little bit of this pin showing. Even with all that solder, we still don't have that whole pin encapsulated in the solder. So we just want to make sure we've got that. We've got a little bit of dried flux there. All right. So once again, just get a little bit of the old fluxaroonie. Yep. Okay. This one's a little bit on the crooked side, but I do believe it's still making contact. There we go. Oh, got all this solder. Whoa, he ain't on properly. This one's going to be a different story. This one I'm actually going to lift off all the solder and then put the new one down. So Now, anyone who has just jumped onto the stream and has said, hey, you said you were going to do an LC2, and this looks to me like a color classic. That's because the LC2 is just getting some UV solder mask drying on its surface. And so I'm just filling in time while it's drying, doing a little cleanup job here of someone else's recapping. Most of these joints I would have been happy to let them just stay as they were, but you know, I'm just this one wasn't on properly, so I definitely got to sort this one out. Get here, you thing. There we go. And get a little bit more solder there. So this one I figure would just be a nice, quick, easy one. I'm not, you know, this person is not basically paying for a recapping job, so I'm not going to actually recap. I'm using their existing caps. I'm just tidying up some of these joints where things weren't attached terribly well. This one is just no. There we go. A little bit better. Marginally. The color classics never end. This is very true. I've got another 2 up there to do as well. I'm not going to do them in a live stream because people are just going to get sick and tired of that. Right, so what's ended up happening here? Let's just have a look. We've got a little bit of a dog's breakfast going on here. That's fine. We've all been there. So let's just get this off for starters. So let's get rid of this wire, and I'm going to get rid of the wire from the other side as well. Okay. This wire is probably too big to be using for a tracer repair. Just a little bit clunky. I'd be worried about it doing damage. Too easy to get yanked. I'm just going to tidy this up here. Oh, and we're going to get to debut my fancy little needle today. You watch. What's this? Look at it. Look at it. Look at it. Fancy needle. Here's a little hole. We go. Oh, come on, go through. Don't make a liar of me. Go through. God, I would never want to get this stuck in there. Can you imagine? Okay, well, I have definitely made an hole. All right, let's flip that over now, and let's get this cap off. Ooh, look at that corrosion on the RAM there. That's going to want to clean in the ultrasonic. Been a lot of talk about ultrasonics lately. Certainly on my stream and also on the MacYak stream and on Steve's stream. I know that Steve is doing some stuff on ultrasonicking at the moment, which is great. Pardon me. Sorry, nice big belch there. That was nice for everyone. So we've got a pad gone from here, and we've got a situation where we have a need for this to be joined from here to here. Now I just need to, I mean, I don't think we need to run a wire. All we really need to do is just link these 2 things up. And I will probably just do, I mean, I will run a wire. I should sort of preface that by saying I am going to run a wire, but the wire is going to be more of a support thing than anything. It's going to be part of holding the new component on the board. So let's just clean this up a little bit first. Yeah, I mean, I sort of, it really isn't my place to kind of come in and criticize other people's work on these things, because you don't just get good at it overnight. You got to try. You got to give it a go. I mean, my recommendation is to people: just never give it a go on a computer. Don't test on a computer that you want to keep. Do something you don't care about first. Just like a Windows machine or something. Old VCR or something like that. Play around with those sort of things. Old set-top box. I mean, those things, they're everywhere. Cheap. So what I'm planning to do is I'm planning to probably run a did that just get stuck in there? Bet you it did. Did I just lose the end? I think I just lost the end of my fancy pointy thing. My Branchus creation is just got stuck in there. I might have to try and make this even thinner because these holes are tiny. So what I want to do basically is, let me just see where I'm going to just follow where these go on the other side. I'm not even sure that he's wired that up to the right location. Maybe. It wasn't even making a connection at a couple of others that were suspect. Yes, that's correct. There's my little thing. I'll probably have to make this even smaller. Oh, good. I've got the right tool on and everything. So I've just got to establish, I'll need to stick my goggles on for this. I've got to establish exactly where these two pins go. I've got one going to, yeah, it was going to the right place. So we good. Yep, okay. So there's that one there and that one there. So those on the other side of the board, we're basically going from this one here. One of the giveaways is the fact that it has this wide trace, and it was wide trace on the other one as well, which means it will be carrying a slightly larger current than these thin ones. I'm just trying to do this, trying to make this hole without leaving part of my fancy tool in there. Can I make this can I make it any thinner? Let's see. Do I dare? Do I dare make it thinner? This is my fancy Dremel machine here that goes faster by itself. Whoa! Can you hear it slowly speeding up? Why? It must be something to do with something warming up inside. All right. You know, this could really backfire on me. I could have now made this so thin it's just going to fall apart. That one went in quite well. Quite well indeed. I'm scared. I'm very frightened. I might abandon the idea of actually going through these holes. Oh, look. It's poking out the other side. Full of dead cockroaches. An image writer full of dead cockroaches. That's awesome. Gotta love that. Okay, let's see if I can feed a wire through here now. I feel like I'm going to great lengths here to do something we may not even need to bother about, but never mind. Now, the other day I was looking for some of my wire, and I spotted it in a really odd place. Oh, there it is, right next to the vacuum cleaner. Ooh, excuse me, I can make old man noises. You can see my bald head. There we go. Do you have PCB? Well, I do, but what I have, they're not thin enough to go through the middle of a there. So they're a good size for drilling a hole to put a there in, but they're too big for actually going through the middle of a there. There might be ones out there that are like thin enough for that, but certainly not the ones I have. So I'm going to probably use my larger wire for this one, which is 0.31, whatever that means. 0.31 millimeters, I'm not sure. It's like this. And the reason why I'm going to use this wire is because I'm going to use this as part of the support mechanism for the other side of this component. So, yeah, I'm going to scrape off the mask on this, and I'm going to get this completely coated in solder. You reckon I'll be able to get that wire through that hole? So I'm not sure I will. Okay, there we go. Right, let me just check. Bill G, did I say hello? Hello. Right. Okay. Needle nose pliers. The first thing. Thick needle hot air machine, then push through the hole. Yeah, that might work. Nastiest old computer you got. How did you clean it? Yeah. Haven't been too bad, to be honest. I certainly haven't had any filled with critters or anything like that. Having said that, I'm not really much of a insectophobe. I really don't mind cockroaches at all. I mean, I don't want them running around the house or anything like that, but I'll quite happily handle cockroaches. I don't really have any issue with them. I know I'm blocking the view here. I just don't think I'm going to be able to get this through the hole. The only reason why I want to put it through the hole is just get a little bit extra support on the thing. But I think we'll be okay here because we've got quite a bit of copper to attach it to. So let's just get some solder onto that. So we're going to start off with some sticky stuff. And we will put some solder onto that there. And then we'll get some of this here. And soak it up. Right. And then this is my little component here, still floating around. It's 47 microfarad 16 volt. And we'll just this so needs a clean. And now what I want to do, I want to get some. This is enameled wire. I use this for my trace repairs. If you watch my trace repair video, you'll see all of the information about the wires that I use. But because it's enamel, it means it has a coating on it. And for the work that I'm doing here, I don't want any coating on it. So I'm actually going to grab a little bit of solder, a little bit of flux, and I'm going to take that coating off before I start working with it, because it will just make my job a little bit easier. Now, of course, I should have some wire that doesn't have coating, but I don't. Whoopsie. Okay, so that coating is now all off. Don't ask me why, but when this coating melts, it smells like hospital. So, okay. Now, the next thing I need to do is I need to get one side of this capacitor down. I don't know why I spun the board around that. I did it prematurely. Sorry about that. I apologize. Right. Going to get some flux here. Let me get my nice flux. Okay. Getting some updates from Greg Rutke from Rutke Mods. Anyone who hasn't seen his channel, he does some very interesting stuff with certainly the newer Macs that I use. He's more around the sort of the G3s and G4s and G5s and that sort of stuff. Okay, let's stick this down here. This pin is kind of, where's the pin? It's hidden underneath the plastic there. All right, that is on. I am confident that that is on. Now what we need to do is we need to get that wire, which I've got here, and we need to run that across here and then make sure it joins up with this pin just. Oh. All right, let me just. There's a little bit of here. Okay. We've got super fine micro torches, like little butane ones. Oh, cool. All right, so let's just get this into position. I'm going to basically just run it across there, and then the solder will hold that in place. And then, of course, I can always use some UV solder mask on it later on to give it a little bit of extra strength. Get that there, as usual. A good Rossmann of flux there. That's a unit of measure I use for how much flux I'm using. Might just get a little bit more onto that pin. There we go. There's a lot of solder on there. That's not going anywhere. Right, so let's just trim this off. We don't want hanging off the edge there. And hanging off the edge there. Come on, over you go. Right, I'll have to go a little bit further away by the looks of it. What's that one? Oh, that's my fancy needle. Let me put that away. Can't lose that. Okay. Come on, there we go. And let's get rid of that as well. Okay, so now we basically have a trace repair, but it's a lot neater and tidier. I mean, I know it's not a thing of absolute beauty, but it's certainly a lot better than what we had there before, with a great big wire snaking its way from one side of the board to the other. Now, even if you have a trace repair like that, that works, and sometimes it's the only thing you can do. Sometimes you are limited to having to actually run a cable from one side of the board to the other. I've had to do it once. Yeah, I mean, that one was I think inviting damage. So this one here, a lot neater and tidier, all in place there, and everyone is happy. So now, of course, as to whether this will work or not, I don't know. I mean, I certainly need to clean it. I have a slight issue at the moment in that I have my classic is being converted into a Mystic, and I usually have other people's classics here, but the last one got picked up the other day. So, and I just tested it in someone else's classic, but I've only got mine. So I can stick it into the Mystic one, but it might do all sorts of weird things. It might sort of make beepy noises and weird things and stuff, but we can try it. We'll try it anyway, see what happens. This will, as I say, get cleaned thoroughly, but we'll just have a look there. We could still be having problems with it because, oh wow. I think I just worked out why we're getting sad Mac chimes. Yeah, I won't be testing this right away. Is it not as bad as it looked from that angle? That looks okay. I just, oh no, it's not too bad. Sorry, I thought I saw some really bad corrosion in the RAM slots, but it's not that bad. It was obviously just a trick of the light. So, yeah, we're all good. We're doing good. Right. Okay, we are going to test this. So everyone, hang on to your seats. This one. Zoom out a little bit here. We'll put a classic up on the board, up on the table. Is there room for a classic here? Barely, but we can try. Going to have to head. Thanks. Thank you for joining, Randall. I do appreciate it. You're going to miss the testing. Okay, just going to grab my classic here, which is actually a Mystic, and we'll just see what happens. All sorts of weirdness could ensue. Oh. Wobbly camera, sorry. There we go. I'm just going to check the pins. It's always a good idea to check the pins before you put them into any of these slide-in boards. All right, so that's in there. let's connect up a keyboard cable, which is over here. Thank you. And let's connect up some power, and we'll just see what happens. Look, this could in all seriousness, this could just make all sorts of weird noises, because this is a modified to Mystic Classic chassis, and it generally doesn't work properly with the original Classic when you put them into a Mystic. So we'll just see what happens. Dead as a doornail. Just checking to see if there is actually power. Yes, there is. Yeah, no, not happening. So I'm not terribly surprised, but so I apologise for the lack of testing on that one there. This one's going to go into the cleaner as well. You know, we saw a lot of nastiness there, but yeah, I mean, yeah, sorry about that. Sorry I can't test that one for you, but I will be testing it later on, but just not in the live stream. So sorry. Okay, putting this away. Now it's time for me to go and collect my LC2 board, which has been sitting there baking in the sun. So excuse me for a few seconds while I go and grab it. It won't take me long at all. Okay, I'm back. Let me just jump on here. We'll have a look. So back to the LC2. And let's just have a look at my UV solder mask up here. And that's all. It's all dried hard there. We've got some protection for that trace now. And now it is time to start putting some caps on. Now, what we know about this one is there's a great big network of stuff going on here. We've got 4 different types of caps on this one. One microfarad 50, 5 47 16s, 100 6.3, and 10 microfarad 16. So these LCs have all those little 10 microfarad 16s there. So let's start off with the ones that are only a couple of. So 1 microfarad 50 volts. Just going to grab my caps. Here's my caps. And so it's 1 microfarad 50 volt. Just grab one of those. Oops. Drop one of those. Piffle. Oops. Far out. Okay. 1 microfarad 50. This is right up here in the corner. So that one there is a 1 microfarad 50 volt. So let's get some flux onto there. We'll get the nice stuff. I'm just imagining these tech support calls that Apple are going to have in the future with a new operating system. And the tech support person saying, are you using Big Sur? And then the person at the other end going, am I using what? I may be a little overweight, but don't call me big. Oy. These capacitors there, quite large compared to the pads we're putting them on, so they're a bit tricky getting those ones on. The larger ones aren't as bad, but these little ones here, it's just the size is not quite right. we go. Let's just check and make sure that's on securely. Got a fair bit of solder on that other side. I'm not too thrilled about that, but it doesn't look too bad. Am I going to fix it? Am I going to fix it? Am I? Oh! Ah, that'll do. Okay, I accidentally just dropped some solder onto the board. There we go. Let's get out of the way. Okay, so that was our 1 microfarad 50 volt. He's now happily on the board. He's 105. That means 10 with 5 zeros after it, which means 6 zeros, which would be 1,000,000 picofarads, which is 1 microfarad. Next one is a 100 microfarad 6.3 volts. Everyone's gone quiet all of a sudden. Hello? Have they gone quiet, or am I just not seeing the chat? Someone say something in the chat so I know whether it's actually a technical fault or whether everyone's just gone quiet. Please. Oh, pancakes. Good, it's working. Busy watching me work away. Thank you very much. Okay, so where's my 100? Is that the right way? Yeah. Where is my 100 microfarad 6.3 go? It goes up here near the audio connectors up there. So it's right there. So let's get some flux onto there. So these little solder balls. These solder balls. Goodbye, solder balls. And let's plug that on there. Now I've got a fairly tight restriction in there in terms of getting the soldering iron in, so I'll do this side first. Do the easy side first. I'll hold it in place, and then I can wheel around with try and get the soldering iron in on the other side. I am having trouble holding this because of the microscope. It is stopping me from getting my tweezers where I want them. Whoa! Knew that was going to happen. Here we go. Let's try again. That's better. Right. Now I've got to try and get this in here without melting anything. Okay. I'm going to have to use a different tip for this one. Let's try my little curvy one. He worked well for me the other day. Happy with that. Is there something missing? Ah, yes, I know what you're referring to. You're referring to this spot here where there is kind of room for something to be there. And it's not meant to be there. I don't know what was meant to be there at some stage, but yeah, it is specifically designed to not, well, sorry, I shouldn't say designed. It's designed to have something there, but it's not there. And once again, it could be some cost-cutting measure with the old LC. It might have been something to make it a little bit more fancy, and they just said, no, no, no. LC, not fancy. Cheap and nasty. Not nasty, but certainly cheap. Okay, that worked well. Curved around the side there, I liked it. It was nice and easy to get that one in there, and I didn't have it on camera, so there we go. That's just how I do things here. Okay, so there's that one. Now we've got 47 microfarad 16 volt to go on, and then all the rest are 10 microfarad 16. So I know 3 of them are along the side here, so let's do those ones first. Wrong flux. Splooge. Splooge, splooge, splooge. It's really funny when I used to solder many years ago as a youngster and also as an adult. I used to use a particular type of flux. I used to use a flux that I kind of grew up with. It was it's called Baker's soldering fluid, and it's a corrosive flux. It works, but it's corrosive, so you've got to clean it off afterwards. And it wasn't until a lot later in life that I realized that there were these other types of flux out there, things like your Rosen flux, and then some of these ones here, the ones that I use, are more of a a surface mount soldering type flux, or a BGA type flux, ball grid array type flux, that you would use for soldering a ball grid array onto a computer. And so those sort of fluxes, as I say, I wasn't even really aware of them until a lot later in life. But geez, they make the job so much easier. Okay, I'm doing a risky thing and I'm grabbing 3 caps at once. That's always something that tempts the capacitor fairies that come in and steal capacitors while I'm not looking. So let's just plunk one on there. Just try not to let them out of my sight. One there, and one there. Maybe they're busy grabbing that one I dropped before. Okay, let's just check and make sure that we've got some focus going on here. We do. Good, good, good. Was the board not working when it came in? Now, that's a good question, but I'm not entirely sure because the person delivered it to me, and normally when I do the job ticket, I write down what they said. Let me just see if I've got anything in here. No, I didn't get any details. He may have told me, but I don't remember. I would not be surprised if it either didn't work or had no sound, given how dirty it was. But I haven't actually seen any broken traces there. But yeah, I'm not sure whether it was working or not. But I certainly didn't want to. I didn't want to risk firing it up with all that nastiness. There we go, look at that. There's on there. Nice. Always try and get these as straight as possible, because I'll tell you what, you look at the board afterwards, you see one a little bit crooked, and you go, oh no. You've got to get them right. Especially with an LC where you're likely to see the board maybe a little bit more than you would some others, because anytime you want to, I don't know, get inside, look at the hard drive, look at the floppy drive, whatever, you just pop that lid off so easily. Have a look inside. And so we don't want crooked caps staring at you when you do that. It'll look like little soldiers all lined up here. Okay, there's 3 47s on there. Check the chicken coop for the missing cats, you never know. Right, where are we? 2 47s. So there's one there and there's one there. So let's just get the flux on there so that we've got them tracked. So we've got one just below the sound chip. So we've got, that's a 47 there. And I think that's a 47 there. I'm just going to double check that. The one, no. Yes. Okay, 47, 47, there we go. 2 more 47s. Whoopsie. Oh dear. I do like the LC. I have been a fan of the LC on the whole. I mean, I know I talk about I'm very quick to criticize things like the 10 megabyte RAM limit and stuff like that, but there is something kind of nice about using an LC, the little tiny, it's a little tiny case, and nice and accessible. It's really easy to get in there and swap out a hard drive or repair your floppy drive or whatever the case may be. Everything just clips in place. Now, of course, everything snaps now because the plastic's gone brittle, but in the olden days, it would just clip into place. Yeah, I mean, the lower cost brought them to other people, and of course they've got a LC PDS slot, which means you can get these guys all connected up to Ethernet, or if you're lucky enough to have an Apple card, you can run them as an Apple IIe. Flip across into the 2E mode. But yeah, I mean, I pretty much connect an Ethernet card to virtually any computer I've got that can run one. And yeah, I mean, then you get these things, you can start transferring files via FTP and stuff like that. So yeah, they're great. I do like them. Using my great big fingers rather than my tweezers. That is out of laziness more than anything. There we go. All right. Righty. So, 47, plus down, plus up. Good. And that's 5 of the 47s, which means if I'm correct, and I think I'm correct, all the rest are 10 microfarad, 16 volt. Has anyone here ever seen the Mac 84 Steve doing recapping of, I think it was an LC3? I think it goes for 8 hours. That has got to go into the record books, that an 8-hour recap. It was quite an amazing stream. If you've ever got a spare 8 hours, jump on and have a look at it, because it is quite fun to watch. I mean, I don't mean that in a mean way. There was some very interesting moments in that, as Steve was, you know, finding out which pads wanted to stay on the board and which ones wanted to fall off. And there's a point in it where he clearly just wants it to be done with, but he's incapable of leaving it. Sticks with it right to the end. And I won't tell you what happens at the end. I don't want to spoil the finish. So all of these ones are now these little tiny ones that don't fit on the pads very well. Okay. Akai S1100 digital sampler to recap at some point too. Are those old Macs capable of network booting? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, there was certainly, at the time, I know there were solutions in place for, you know, for networking these. I mean, I know that, for example, my father, who was a teacher, he looked after a classroom full of Macs, and I know that they had the ability through some networking software that they could go in and sort of do remote updates and those sorts of things. But in terms of network booting, it's as such, I don't think so. Oh dear. I think my body is telling me I'm hungry. Okay. Whoops. Again, just trying to get these straight, trying to not get too much solder on here. This is basically the reason why, when Steve was doing the stream, he was having so much trouble. It was one of his earlier recapping jobs. He's obviously a lot better at it these days, but it was one of his very early recapping jobs, and he was of course dealing with these. Was it that one I was looking at? He was dealing with these. Was this one? With these caps that are kind of a little bit too big for the pads underneath them. These tantalums, and yeah, it was. So you know, this. You know, if you're working with a nice big pad for the cap to go on, it's fine. But he was struggling with the smaller ones. Okay, now let's continue. I only got 4 caps out of the container before. Don't want to stretch my luck and have them go missing. We are getting towards the end here, so anyone who's starting to get a bit antsy and sort of thinking, oh my goodness, will we ever get to see this working? I haven't been able to get many successful tests on my streams lately, have I? I've been getting these things working, but I just haven't been getting them working during the live stream. which is frustrating, and I apologise to my viewers who are watching it, wanting to see these things fire up at the end and then just sort of getting stuck with disappointment. If it's any consolation, it disappoints me too. Especially knowing that I'm going to have to spend more time on it, whatever it is. And of course, in many instances, when I work on these, I mean, as soon as I finish the stream, the first thing I do is I drop the board in the cleaner, and sometimes that's enough to get it working again. But it's the time it takes in the cleaner is just not really practical to include that in a live stream. I mean, unless I was still just going and going and going with doing other repairs in the meantime. But even then, I can't stand the sound of the cleaner while I'm doing the live stream. I can barely hear myself think. There we go. Okay, we're getting there. We are getting there. Cleaning should be part of the stream. I just can't figure out how to make it interesting. As I say, the main problem I have is that while the machine is going, it just buzzes around in my head and it's hard for me to even talk. I know the sound is not that bad coming through the stream, but it is bad in my head. In my head grapes. I'm going to do these ones here now that are around where I put that UV solder mask. So I'm going to just grab 4 for this little spot here. Imagine trying to net boot off Apple Talk. You know, the old little Apple Talk connectors that go into the serial port of the Macs. This is a story that I've told before. I apologise to people who have heard it, but the company that I worked at, 2 different brands of capacitors. The consistency police, look out. The company I worked for, we were running Apple Talk for all that stuff. We did a lot of network stuff because we were sending stuff to printers. That was what we essentially did. We printed things out on super high resolution printers for other people because we had these very expensive high resolution printers. So people would send us files and we would print them out for them. And I remember doing all of that with Apple Talk, you know, just the little, we were using, I think, phone net connectors from memory. And so, you know, we had this phone net network and, oh man, that was a nightmare. And then I remember us actually making the transition to Ethernet. I was a fairly large part of that transition because I was one of the people that was having to deal with, you know, the slow speeds. And so I kind of said, look, you know, this is going to make a big difference to the company. Can we change over to Ethernet? And they said yes. And so we went across to Ethernet. And I can remember the first time I sent a print job using Ethernet and just being blown away by how fast it was. It was like, that's done already? I can't believe it. It's amazing. Oh, those heady days. Exciting stuff. Well, it would have been 90s, I suppose. Early 90s, possibly late 80s, probably early 90s. I don't remember exactly. Did it again. Getting good at making these things move after I solder them, aren't I? There we go. Good. I got enough solder on this for a third one. Have I? Okay. All right. Tom Barber, hello. How's the recapping going? The recapping is going well. We're working with an LC2 here. We did jump across and have a little bit of a fiddle around with a Color Classic that I had here, that I was just tidying up someone else's recapping job in the hope that that would fix it up because they were having problems with it. Is that just me or is it insanely crooked? Let me just check. Okay, it's soldered on. This one's certainly crooked. And so yeah, we just had a little temporary departure from the from this LC2 while I waited for some UV solder mask to dry, which is the UV solder mask you see underneath these particular caps I'm doing right this very second. And there we go. And then now we're back to it. I'm putting the caps on. We're drawing to a close here where we don't have that many more to do. And then we'll be able to fire it up and test it. And then, for anyone who's still watching, I am going to have a little bit of fun with this LC. I don't want to give it away now, but I will be doing something else to this LC2. Okay. Andrew Henderson, thank you very much. All right, so we are just tapping, just checking to make sure these are all on, nice and securely on both sides. This one got sizzled a little bit before by my heating the components around it, but it's still okay. I just may as well get some solder onto this while I am here. I just, when I have any exposed copper like that, I've exposed the copper because it was ugly. But I just like to tin it, and that just means that it will protect the copper underneath from corrosion. Right, so not many more to go actually here. I think there's 2 more to go. Oh, flew through them. So I got that one there, and we got that one there. And we are looking at 10 microfarad 16 volt. Most of them on these are 10 microfarad 16 volt. Sorry, wrong one. God, I gave myself a fright then. Most of the capacitors that I go through are 47 microfarad 16 volt. The majority of the Macs use that one there. There are 2 on this one here. But I always know when I've been working on a lot of LCs because my 10 microfarad 16 volts all start to deplete because there are so many on here, 10 on each one. So you do a few and then all of a sudden, your stores are halved. So there's one there and one there. Michael, still here? Good to hear, good to hear. Yes, I mean, it's sort of, I haven't been doing very many pre-recorded YouTube videos lately, and that is probably largely due to laziness and time. In order for me to do a live stream, I basically come down here to my workshop and I switch a whole bunch of things on, and I'm good to go. When I do a pre-recorded one, I've basically got a day's worth of editing that I need to do. I've got to record it, I've got to script it, I've got to record it, I've got to edit it, and it just takes a lot of time, and wow, I'm having trouble with this one. And so yeah, I've been doing a lot of these live streams lately. Oh, far out, man. I'm really struggling with this one because of this guy here, right there. Just this big piece of plastic here is stopping me from getting my tweezers where I want them. So I'm having real trouble holding it. What if I come at it this way? So yeah, and of course the problem is that when you're doing a live stream, it is quite difficult to try and keep some of this stuff interesting. I'm recapping. Okay, that's great. If you're someone who's wanting to do your own recapping or whatever the case may be, you can, watch the repetition of me doing it over and over again to sort of try and build up some confidence or something along those lines. Oh, something just fell down. Oh, I'll sort that out later on. I've got to get in here and do a bit of cleaning because things, I'm just making sure this is straight, things keep falling down. I do pre-recorded vids to make up for all you live stream junkies. Yeah. Look, the live streams are kind of, and this is what I find as well when I watch a live stream. They're good when if you're working, you're doing something else to have it in the background. But I am usually able to get a better kind of concise message out with the pre-recorded vids. And I've got one that I'm partway through at the moment. I just need to record the intro and outro. All of the guts of it are all done. And I think it will be one that people will enjoy. But yeah, it's just that whole having the time to go in and do it. And if I want to record the intro and outro, I've got to turn my kind of living room upside down to set up the camera and all that sort of stuff. Of course, at the moment, my living room is full of Macs. I wonder why that is. Okay, I'm just going around checking all of these, making sure I'm just pushing them with the tweezers gently to make sure that they all appear to be secured on both sides. I haven't missed any. I've got these ones over here as well. Push, 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 push. Let's make sure that they are all around the right way. So, back into this view here. Get this out of the way. Always go through these checking processes because, you know, when you're doing recapping, if you have any problems with it, chances are most likely the cause is a mistake you've made. We are human, after all. Streams of fine wouldn't change anything. Well, at least this 29 people agree. The videos of mine that get the most views are the ones where I do instructional stuff. You know, I've got a couple of videos where I'm talking about some soldering techniques, and they get lots of watches. All right, so let's just check. We've got the polarity. I always check the polarity. Yep, they're pointing the right way. Let's have a look at these ones up here. Okay, that's yes, that's yes, that's yes, 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 yes. Okay, so the polarity is correct on all of them. Let's check to make sure the measurements are correct. So we've got that one there is our 1 microfarad. So they're the ones that say 105. And then my, was it 10 microfarads? So they say 106. So we've got 1, 2, 3. Yep, they're correct. We've got that one's correct. That one's correct. Ding, ding, ding. Can't be too careful. And then we've got some, we've got 100 there. That'd be a 107, that's correct. And then we've got 47, which would be 476. That's right too. Okay, I'm quite confident in the positioning and placement of all those. Okay. 29 people watching, but only 21 upvotes. I've got, I don't know who it is. There's someone that basically has just been jumping onto my streams really early and pressing the thumbs down button. Good on them though. I mean, it shows dedication. I like it. Okie dokie. This one here that I didn't put on the board for the sake of consistency. There's nothing wrong with the capacitor, so I'm not going to throw it away or anything like that. It's just a different brand. This is AVX, I think, brand, and the other's a Chemet. Nothing wrong with either of those brands. It's simply that when I put them onto a computer, I like to have consistency across them. So I will save that for one where there's maybe only one that I need to put on, so I can put that on and it won't stick out. Right, so I'm just going to hit this with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol around some of this grubbiness, because this one is particularly grubby, and I just think we've got a better chance of this working if we can just get some of this electrolyte off. I'm not going to bother with doing a full-on clean. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'll pop it in the cleaner and then I'll test it afterwards. But I just, you know, I figure I increase my chances of this working if I just give this a little bit of a scrub with a toothbrush and a bit of iso alcohol. Make sure it's free of the Rona. Positivity into negative things. Yes. It takes a fair bit to disturb me these days, I'm telling you. I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm getting old. I'm a fairly positive person most of the time. Okay, I'm just going to dry some of this off now with my hot air station. Okay, that's dry enough for me. Right, so let's start the testing. Guy does the downvotes, must be a PC fan. Probably, yeah. So this here is my LC II. It's nice and warm. It's been sitting up on my ultrasonic cleaner because I don't have any room in here. Let's pop that out of the way. I can't remember. I picked this up from someone somewhere. I don't remember the exact details, but let's get that out of the way. I just wanted to have a little pizza box Mac, so this is mine. And let's just whip this all out here. Now it does have, the LC does have RAM on board, but it doesn't have VRAM on board. So if you want to test these out, you've got to at least stick the VRAM in, but I'm going to stick the VRAM and the RAM in. With these, there is one VRAM slot and two RAM slots. The best option with this, I think they have two on board. I think 8, 9, 10, no, that'd be no, it's more than that, isn't it? Is it 4 on board? 4 and 4 is 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I think it's 4. I think they have 4 megabytes of RAM on board. So to get the maximum amount of RAM from these, you would have, if you put two 2s in plus the 4, you'd get 8. If you put two 4s in plus the 4, you install 12, but as I said before, it will only show you 10 of that. So I think that's right. I could be wrong. I can look it up, obviously, off my little system there, but I'm not going to do that. This is a 256K VRAM sim. They're the more common ones that you'll see. There are 512s that have 4 smaller chips on there, but they don't turn up very often, and they go for silly amount of money on eBay. I don't know if anyone actually pays that silly money, but they do go for that. These look like 1s, but they might be 2s, but I think they're 1s. Come on, in you go. Get in here. Been a bit stubborn, this one. Stop it. Am I around the wrong way or something? Nope. No, just being stubborn. Whoops, there we go. I just had to look away as I was doing it. That was the secret. Really should take and put this one in last, shouldn't I? Okay. Doom. Anyone who owns an LC, power supplies almost always need recapping as well. Someone just told me the other day, this was something I was blissfully unaware of. There are 2 different types of power supply, one that you'll find in the 475 and the 605, and the others for the LC, LC2 and LC3. And apparently the 475, 605 one has a slightly higher output. So same voltage, but it's just slightly higher amperage. So just worth keeping in mind that even though they all appear to be interchangeable, you should be using the higher output one for the 475 or the 605. So let's just, I'm just going to sort of balance this on top somehow or other. I might just use the, actually no, I will need to connect the hard drive up. Maybe I should just put it in here. Always scary working with these things because of the brittle plastic. Okay. So can I get this out without taking all the drives out as well? We'll see. Bendy, bendy, bendy. Bendy. Oh, I hate bending. These LCs aren't as bad. The LC2s, they're not as bad as like the 475 or the 605. You look at a 605 funny and the plastic will break. Okay, let's pop that up there. Let's see what happens. Reasonably easy to interchange. This one. Here we go. Come on. Are we in the right place? Yep, we're in the right place. There we go. Come on, come on, come on. So I'm making a mess of this, aren't I? Ugh. You're rushing it. You're making mistakes. What are you doing? There we go. There we go. Goodness me. Okay. Will I bother pushing it all the way in? Probably no need to bother with that. So let's just connect up a floppy drive, a hard drive, and SCSI cable, and a floppy cable, and a power cable. Come on, get on there. And fan. Oh, and I pinched the speaker from this the other day. Here's the speaker here. Woo! The LC1 actually made contact with the speaker via little pads on the bottom of the board that just sat down on little contacts. Whereas on this one, you've actually got little pins here to connect the speaker to, which I much prefer. It's just a lot easier from a testing perspective. Get that out of the way. Now I need to connect up a screw. Well, we can start off just by checking to see if it goes chime, and then I'll connect the screen up and we'll see if it fires up. And ready? 3, 2, 1. We got a chime. Everybody happy. Wow, that hard drive's making an interesting noise. It's a good job I've got a bunch of SCSI II SDs coming. I ordered 4 the other day from China. So just reminding people that I do sell them. I sell them with all pre-configured, ready to go into computers. So if you are someone who does not like the challenge of setting up a SCSI II SD and would rather have someone do it for you, I do that. I actually have a SCSI II SD right here. If I can reach it. This one here, SCSI II SD 5.5. This one here, I've got it with a 16 gig SD card, micro SD card in there. This is the one designed to connect externally. It comes in this nice little plastic case. I mean, when I say it comes in it, you've got to pay extra for it. You can either buy it with or without it. Or does it come with it? I can't remember. But anyhow, the one that I bought originally came with a 3D printed one, which wasn't too crash hot. The company that sell these, Inertial Computing, they then contacted me and they said, we've got these new injection mold ones. Would you like to try one? And I said, yes, please. So they sent me one. They actually sent me 2, which is nice of them. And they are nice. It's a nice little case. The only objection I have to them is this little bit of plastic here, where this little piece of plastic sits on the bottom. It juts out, and that can make it really hard to get into some computers. No problem on this one, but like a Macintosh 2 CI has a little bit of plastic that juts out the bottom, and so I've had to actually shave a bit of plastic off the top of that, which is a bit of a shame. I might take you up on 1 or 2 of those. Okay, yes, Dana, well, there you go. I will be happy to do that. Right, now I'm feeling fairly confident about this, mainly because we've got a nice big vocal chime, which of course is one of the main problems that we have with these when they get old. Is they don't chime when they get the capacitor leakage. So I've got my little screen here. This is just my little cruddy screen. Just going to plug this in and see what happens when I fire it up. Oh, look at that. Screen already. Go that way. That way. What I'm hoping for, it may not happen, but yep, there we go. We've got a cursor. And we've got a welcome to Macintosh. So, feeling pretty good about that one. Let's... Hey Charlie, welcome. Thank you for joining. Yes, we have finished recapping this one, but for those who are interested in sticking around, I've got some more excitement planned. Oh, hang on to your seats. You know what? It is actually starting up. I mean, this hard drive, I don't know how much of that sound is getting through to you guys, but it is whining. I'm telling you, it's an 80 megabyte. It's an old quantum spinner. But there we've got our LC. I'm going to rest this down. There we go, rest. Now, I haven't connected a mouse up to this, so it makes it a little bit hard to shut it down. I notice it's coming up in black and white, but that's fine. That's quite normal. with no battery being connected. I just need to go in and set it to be in color. Do I risk it to get the biscuit? There we go. Let's do some stuff and some things, man. PGA Tour Golf. Well, this is certainly not my old hard drive. I've never played a golf game in my life, to be honest. Displays, monitors, and colors, and you can see that we've got an expansive selection of 16 colors on this. If we had a 512 in there, we would get thousands. So this is showing currently in a 640 by 480. I'd probably get thousands if I was running in 12 inch screen mode, which is 512 by 384. I'd probably get thousands of colors with it. So, okay, so JJ Brubaker, thank you very much. That's dedication. I do appreciate that. And while we're here, let's just go in and for a little bit of fun, just reminisce with the old sounds. Because, you know, we're old crazy old Mac people. We like the sounds. Let's crank this volume right up here. Yeah. And we'll get a bit of a droplet. That's one of my favorites. That's what I used to always have it on. I don't know how well you're hearing it. I'll move the speaker over here. There we go. Ding. There's a deep shout out to Steve. Okay, so, all right, well, that's that part done. The next part, oops, cable came out, sorry. Okay, let's try that again. Next part I'm going to do is just shut this down, and then we're going to do something. We're going to, let's just say, undo some of Apple's nastiness. All right, so let's just get this out of the way. I'll put it up there precariously. Yep. It's all right, everything's fine. Oh, I dropped my sewing machine oil. Very, very good oil. I use this stuff. It's very, very highly refined. And it's good for oiling things. You know, everyone says, oh, oil, use WD-40. No, don't use WD-40. Use WD-40 if you're wanting to free up an old seized sort of joint or something like that. But if you want to use an oil, use something like a sewing machine or a nice, well-refined oil. I mean, don't use it in the sump of your car. Don't get me wrong. I'm talking about if you're working with, you know, precise instruments. Right. So let's get this out of the way. Where am I going to put this now? Is it going to go back up on the ultrasonic cleaner? Yeah, why not? Let's put that there. And let's put that there. Let's hope it doesn't fall down. Yep. It looks, yeah, that looks secure. All right. Love the classic bags, don't we all? Ah, GT, hello and welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining. Right, so as I said, I was going to save up something a little bit exciting for the end of the stream. Now, that's maybe overstretching it just a little. It's not that exciting. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo some of Apple's stinginess when it came to this. And what I'm going to do is put an FPU socket here. Dana, thank you very much. Much appreciated. I do appreciate the super chat. Thank you very much. All right. Sorry, I've just realized there's some chat here that I've missed out on, so I better just go back. I'm sure one of these days it's going to die. Yeah. Right. Use WD-40 on old plastic gears. Okay, yep. WD-40 is good for door hinges. It certainly is. Look, I can give you 100 different reasons that WD-40 is good for. WD, I think, stands for water displacement. It's fantastic stuff, but it's not for everything, you know. The main component of WD-40, I've mentioned this in one of my streams before, is fish oil. And then it's just got other stuff in it as well. But okay, so all right. So what I'm basically going to do now is I'm going to suckle the solder out of these, stick a socket in, and then we're going to fire this up with an FPU. So we'll make it an LC2 that Apple never wanted us to have. FPU, floating point unit, math code processor. If anyone is curious about about them, that's they're designed for calculating floating point numbers. And what is the advantage of having one? I hear you say, for calculating floating point numbers. Okay, so first thing we need to do is get all this solder out of these holes. And hopefully this won't be too much of a nightmare. I do have my machine, my motorized solder sucker, if I get really stuck, but I'm hoping I'm going to be able to get most of this out with wick. I'm going to break out the big guns. I'm going to use my 3mm wick for this one, and I may end up having to add some new solder. Where's my 3mm wick? There's my 3mm wick. I normally use 2mm. They do make it in a 1.5 as well. However, I kind of like the 2mm. It's I don't know why, but I just find it works better than the 1.5. So, excuse me. Right, so you look how wide that wick is. Wickety whack. John Wick. Baba Yaga. Yeah. Right. So get some heat. Flux. Some wick. Some of them just pop out. Some of them don't. You can tell the ones that pop out because they're going to kind of go, it just goes shiny all of a sudden. Come on. How'd you come? We try some of the others from the other side. Had someone, I was chatting to someone on Facebook who was planning to do this. And of course, there were a few people jumping on and saying, why? Man, well, why not? That's my kind of reaction to that. Apple didn't want me to put an FPU in this, so let's do it. As you can see, you go through a lot of wick when you're doing this sort of stuff. It's good to have a bit of solder on the wick when you start doing this stuff, because solder likes hanging out with solder. So, this is actually going way better than I thought it would. Come on, there we go. And I'm wanting to be gentle. I don't want to do any damage here. As I say, I have done this. I've done it to my own. And you sort of think, well, what's the advantage? Well, when I run my speed test on it, the math numbers come up really well. I'd be very curious to know, is anyone out there? Oh, hang on. I've been paged by the House of Moth. I did this without an machine and without a brucinator. Yeah, I know. And I'm staying true to form. I'm doing this with wick. I'm sure you did it with wick as well. Got to reboot the CMP from Windows to OS X. What about OS 11, hey? We're heading for OS 11. How long have we been saying OS 10? I remember when we actually changed to OS 10 at the company that I worked at the time, and I was very much an OS 9 person, and I was quite resistant to change over. And I know that we didn't change over on 10. We probably didn't change over until like 10.1 or something. And I don't think I really embraced it until about 10.2, I think, from memory. I ended up going back a long way, and I've got an old brain, so I don't remember stuff anymore. What did you say? What was that? Come on. You have to hit some of these from the other side. Good thing wick's not expensive. There we go. Yeah, so the person that I was chatting to on Facebook who did this, apparently his computer didn't work afterwards. And that was before he even put an FPU in it. He just put the socket in and it didn't work. So my guess is he got a bit heavy-handed, which is a shame. Because really this should not be, sort of like, this shouldn't be something that's likely to damage it. It's a pretty straightforward thing. Can I add Altivac to it? No. I'm excited for Mac OS 11. Yeah. I'm still using Mojave on my one, and the main reason for that is that I still have 32-bit applications I want to use. I'm not ready to abandon 32-bit support, and that will probably remain the same for a while. We'll see. I mean, undecided. Oh, look, I mangled that one. Good job. It's going to be underneath a socket. We won't see it. Nearly done. Trust these last ones to be pains in the backside. Come on. Come on. You can do it. Might need the other machine for some of these. I'm going to try and do it without, because otherwise I'll never hear the end of it from Jay. Jay from House of Moth, also known as the Pixless guy. Oopsie. Right. So, I'm going to flip this over and see if I have any luck getting any of those other ones out from the other side. Some of the ones that didn't empty out. More flux, yes, I know. The ones that are really hard to get out, generally what I'll do is I will add flux and I'll add solder. I'll add some fresh solder and that will often help. But we'll just see how we go with these from the other side. That one's done. Come on, you. That one came out. You just see when it suddenly changes, goes bright like that, you know it's got it. Okay, we are so close. Let's just put some solder into this one. Is that through that one, or is it? Oh. Yep, that's through. You add some more solder. It always seems counterintuitive, but it works quite well. Add some flux, and then we just go. There it goes. Should we try this one? Yeah, come on. You know you want to. Right, these two are going to be stubborn. Doing my tricks, doing my tricks. What happens is if you fill the whole thing up with loads and loads of solder, what ends up happening is the whole lot just all comes out in one big rush. Come on. There we go. Was that one empty and then I filled it up again? There we go. Look at that. Look at it. Look. Yes. Ah. Whoa. Right. A little bit of cleaning involved. Get the toothbrush. Now, I've got behind me, over my left shoulder, is a great big stack of containers full of capacitors. But what I also have is some of those containers, I have them labeled MISC. 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 I think there's another MISC. That's MISC as well. I need to grab one of these MISCs because that's where my sockets are. So, excuse me, Crazy Tech Reviews. Thank you for joining. Okay, where would you buy those coprocessor sockets? You would buy them at places like Mouser and DigiKey and stuff like that. It's a 44 pin, I think that's right, 44 pin PLCC socket. I can put links into the description later on where you can buy them. I keep a little store of them here. That's them. So this is what the socket looks like. Let's just go onto the side view here quickly. Whoopsie. Okay. But yeah, these are readily available. I mean, they may not be one day, but they are at the moment. So I'm just going to zoom. There we go. There's the socket. Let's get some illumination. Focus. Focus. There we go. So that's it there. You can see there's got pins on the bottom. Some of these have flat pads on the bottom, which obviously are not suitable for what we're doing here. So you need to make sure the ones you get have the pins on them. They do sell these with, talking about the pitch, which is how far apart all these pins are. But to be honest, when it comes to these 44 ones, the only ones I've ever seen have been these ones. There might be some out there that don't fit it, but every one I've ever seen for sale has been this sort. So let's get this out of the way. And let's just move out a little bit. Not much. So we're just going to get this. Now, you think, well, how on earth do I know how to put this in place? Well, this has a little white dot just there. I don't know if you can see that. There's a white dot just at the end of my finger. That indicates pin 1. PLCC chips have a little indentation on them to show they're pin 1. And this socket here has an arrow, which if I catch the light, you might get it. There's the arrow. You can see the arrow there. That arrow is pointing to pin 1. So I just need to make sure that that arrow is pointing to the little pin. I'm going to have to stick my goggles on for this because I'm going to need younger eyesight than I have. Just make sure all the pins are straight and make it a lot easier to get through. It's quite difficult when you're thinking, I'm trying to get 44 little things all lined up and going in at the one time. So, but I got it. So there it is. There's my socket sitting on there. Now we're just got to go through the fairly dull, repetitious process of soldering on. I'm going to do my normal thing of tacking it in place with a couple of pins first. So I'll just choose where they are. There's maybe one there, one there, one there, one there. And then what I do is I grab my soldering iron. I've got lots of flux on there. Now the flux is going to help to make the solder transfer from my iron. Oh, I just melted some plastic. Doesn't that smell good? I'm going to the flux will make the solder transfer from my iron onto the pin. So that's why I've got it there. So I'm just going to grab some solder onto the iron. I'm just going to do this. That's done that. This is just so it doesn't fall out, and it's so I don't need to bend any pins. I might bend the pins on, say, a capacitor that's only got 2 pins on it, but I hate bending pins on components like this. If you ever have to take them out again, having bent pins is a pain in the backside. Right, so I've got basically 4 little tacks on that. So you can see them when I jump across now to the microscope. You can see there's one right in the middle there, and there's one there, and there's one there, and there's one there. So that's enough to hold it in place while I go in and solder the rest. And I will try and do this as quickly as possible. It should not take long. I know it's repetition, but it should be fine. I'm going to just be using the flux in the solder. I'm not adding any extra flux for these. When you're actually melting the solder onto what you're soldering, as I am doing here now, you can just utilize the flux in the solder. When I'm doing my surface mount stuff, where I'm actually placing the component in place and then I'm transferring solder from my iron onto that surface mount component, I use flux for that, because as I say, it helps with that transfer of the solder. Doesn't matter here though. The only downside to the flux in the solder is it's rosin core, which leaves kind of a shiny residue behind afterwards, which is why it's so important to clean. How's the focus going, guys? I notice it's getting a little bit of out of focus for me. No, it looks all right there. Yup. 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 Isn't this fun? Come on, you. There you go. I won't be able to get these all perfectly consistent. There'll be some bigger than others. And I try and get them reasonably consistent, but it's virtually impossible. As long as they don't look too revolting, I'm happy. Is anyone counting? Got 44 to do. So we're well past halfway now. Nearly done. What time is it here at the moment? It is 1:15. That's why I'm starting to get grumbles in my belly. That's the time I normally have lunch. So, what are people's thoughts on what I'm doing here at the moment? Do you think this is a bit of a travesty, actually changing the LC II from the way it was originally sold? Or do you think it's a good thing to actually try and get this to be a little bit faster than Apple wanted us to have? Just be curious to know what people think. Upgrades are awesome. Yeah, I like that. That's the kind of attitude I have. And as long as we're not kind of defacing the thing, I suppose. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, we're just, you know, making it look a little bit more like an LC3, I suppose. Like supercharging a V8. Don't think this will have the same impact as a supercharger on a V8, but still. Okay, just get rid of a little solder ball there. Got to make sure this thing's free of balls. I just dropped the double entendre. Got a couple of these that I just want to add a little bit more solder to. Like this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. I got a little bit lazy along there, didn't I? Oh, look at this, just rushing it. That'll do. A little bit more cleaning here, just getting some of that extra flux off. I mean, as I say, this is going to go into the ultrasonic cleaner as soon as I'm finished, but the reason why I'm cleaning it now is just sort of for when I fire it up. So I'm going to have to try and find some way of firing this up. Wouldn't it be good if I could share the screen of this onto OBS, which I have no facility to be able to do, so that ain't going to happen, but yeah. All right, so there we go. There's our pretty little socket on there. Now, socket, no good without a chip. So let's find one of those. It's probably in the other MISC thing. Let's have a look. Incidentally, the sorts of things I have in my little MISC bucket, for anyone who is interested, I have some of these little connectors here. So, for instance, if you had a SCSI to SD version 5.5 that has the little holes on the side, you can actually put one of these connectors to allow it to run as an external. I bought this for a job that I was going to do that never ended up happening. Someone had wrecked a board, had completely stuffed up a board. They absolutely made a train wreck of it. You should have seen it. And they wanted me to try and fix it up. And so I needed to get a connector like that. But what happened is, between when they asked me to do the job and sending it to me or whatever, that they did some more work on it, and they broke it. He wrecked it so much, he said, I'm not even going to bother sending it to you. These are the little optic transmitters, the little infrared transmitters for inside the original Mac Plus mice. So if you were using an old Mac Plus, actually I think these might be the wrong ones, but they work, but they're just not the right size. I've got the right size somewhere else. I've got some RAM chips here for things like, what have I got? I've got RAM for a 512K Mac. I've got RAM for an I've got SE30 sound chips here. I've got some sockets. So if I want to replace RAM in a 512K or a 128K Mac, rather than desoldering and then just soldering a new RAM, I can solder in sockets so that they can be changed easier in the future, that sort of stuff. Little potentiometers here. I had a Mac, had a display where the little potentiometer was stuffed, so I have to replace it to fix it. So just get little bits and pieces like that. That's my little miscellaneous stuff. And then I've got another miscellaneous here, which still doesn't have what I want. Have a look at this. Have a look at this. I bought some Macintosh SE30 VRAM, SE30, and I got heaps of them. I mean, who needs that many? No one. What else have I got? 128K RAM. I've got all sorts of bits, and of course, I still haven't found what I was looking for. So I now need to find. Have I got another miscellaneous? It's here somewhere. I know because I was looking at it just the other day. Let's go for a bit of a hunt through the miscellaneous. Okay, so there's that one. No. Sorry about this, guys. I really should have prepped for this, shouldn't I? Had this all ready to go. I am quite sure I was looking at these just the other day. Oh, they're here. These are the right ones. Sorry, these are the right ones for the Mac Plus mouses. These are the ones that just go in and replace the little infrared transmitters there. Because sometimes if you've got a mouse that might only move in one direction or whatever, sometimes these things go. I've had a few that have been cooked. You can replace them. It's not a fun job, but it can be done, and you can bring that mouse back to life again, which is nice. Okay, just working my way through all my containers here, setting up a nice big precarious tower. I found them. They were on the second from the bottom. Okay. Just going to make this pile slightly less precarious. There we go. Sorry about you having to stare at my back for the moment there. Okay. Yes, I would agree with that too, Alex. It's like replacing a slant 6 with a 426. That would be quite a change. That would be quite a jump. Yeah. Okay, so let me just have a quick look here. I'm just going to zoom out. So I've got a friend of mine's got a 426 and a little Barracuda. Okay, so these here are the chips that always get fried on an SE30 from the capacitor. So, but anyhow, what we have here, this is what we came for. We came for a 68882 floating point unit. Readily available, not expensive. If you've got a computer that has one of these sockets for one, it makes no sense to not have one in there. Even if you don't do much floating point in calculations, we're talking about just a couple of dollars for these. You know, I buy them in batches because they're just so cheap. As I mentioned, there is a bump on the chip. You can see the little bump there, and that indicates pin 1 right there. And here we just have a look at there. You can see M68882FN40. Now, this is not 40 megahertz, this thing, but it doesn't matter if yours is a little bit higher. This says it's Motorola. It may be just a cheap knockoff with a Motorola stamp on it, but let's hope it's Motorola. So then we just need to put this in, and we'll do that here. As I say, you have the little bump, and that goes towards the arrow. So it's going downwards there. I'll pop that in there. In we go. Put the goggles on, and come on. In she goes. That's pretty stiff, that one. Now, if you ever need to remove these, don't do anything stupid like grab a screwdriver and shove it in the side here and pry it out. That is not the way to do it. There are actually specific tools for doing it, and I do have one here somewhere, but it's probably fallen down because I know it was rather precariously perched just the other day. And I looked at it and I thought to myself, that's going to end up on the floor, and it probably has. But there is a specific tool for removing these sorts of chips. It's kind of a weird looking thing. Weird sort of spidery looking tool, and I can't find it anywhere. But if you don't have the tool and you do want to remove one of these after going in, what you need to do is you need to get a really, really small screwdriver. Let's see if we can find something like a little jeweler's screwdriver, something like that, that can fit in this little hole here. This little hole here. You see there's a little groove on the side there, just that little groove there. Get the light over here again, and you need to get ones that you can actually fit in the side there, and pry it out that way. So you get one in this side, one in that side, and you just pry them out, and it comes out that way. That's the way you get them out without doing any damage to these pins. So there we go. There's a little bit of 6 8 8 8 8 8 8 8 8 8 8 8 8 2 tutorial there. All right, so we've got our socket in, we've got our chip in. So we are now hoping that this will still work. No guarantees in life, but we are hoping. Giving it our best shot, put it that way. Oh, lifting LCs. Right, so we are getting towards the end here. Oh, I've been going for a long time, so thank you everyone for watching, and I am so sorry it has gone on for such a long time. Expecting just so much from my viewers. Okay. In you go. Come on. Gotta get under. There we go. Under. Right. Slide him in. Oh, nice big clicky noise. That plastic will probably never be the same. And we'll connect up the power. One of the nice things about these power connectors on Macs is they generally make them so that they can only go on one way. So I always like connectors that can only go on one way. It makes me feel a hell of a lot better, a lot safer when I'm putting things back together again. Hard drive. There we go. I'm going to connect up my SCSI to SD because I want speedometer. And I need to try and find some way of displaying this a little bit easier, or I don't have to hold it all the time. That's upside down. That'll be no good. I'll just screw this in so that the cable doesn't fall out. Let's pop that there. Is that viewable? That's kind of viewable, isn't it? Ish. Let's get that cleaner out of the way. Until I can get something set up where I can just run the video straight out of this onto OBS, which would just be awesome, and then I can just stream what I'm looking at. That would just be brilliant. We'll just have to stick with this stupid little screen. I say stupid, it's actually really cool. It's a HD, 1080p display. Very handy. Keyboard. See, I'm doing all this stuff with the expectation it's just going to work first go. That's how confident I am. I did buy a batch of FPUs once, and I did get a dud in there, and I sort of fired one up, and it just didn't work at all. Took the old FPU out, put another one in, and away it goes. Okay. All right. Okay. So this stream will not go on forever, and there's a main reason for that, and that is that I'm hungry, and I'm certainly not going to stream me eating lunch. All right. So is that on? That's on. Let's see what happens when we switch it on. Oh, I forgot something. Power cable. Doesn't do much without that, does it? Ready? And we've got a chime, we've got screen, everything's looking good, so feeling happy about that. The FPU is not getting blazingly hot or anything like that. So that's all good. It's nice. If I zoom this in a little bit, just so that I can't zoom right in onto that, but I can at least get it so that it feels a little bit more screen. Oh, no, my stupid head's in the way. What am I going to do about that? What if I move it? Hang on. That'll do. It'll do for now. It's not ideal. What if I move my stupid head? Will that freak people out? I mean, will people just be like, no, if you're in a different corner, it's gonna mess with me? See, now I'm up in the top left-hand corner. How about that? Right, so we are not actually, we are booting off the internal, I think. It's a little bit bright, isn't it? We're back in black and white again. I wonder if I just turn the brightness down on the camera for a moo, and we'll be able to see that a little bit better. There we go. That'll do for now. It's not exactly high tech, but it'll do. Okie dokie. So let's go to, well, starters, we'll go to monitors. I'm just using this mouse on my thigh because it's an old ball mouse thingy, and they don't work too well on my table. Monitors. Colors. Now I have on this, I've talked about this before, I have on the SCSI 2 SD an image that I will be sharing when I find a way to actually share it easily. I've got to figure out the best way to do it. It's basically a disk image that, oh sorry, I just want to check how much RAM is in this one a minute. 7.1, we got 4 in there, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 2 megabytes on board plus 2 ones in here, which is giving me a grand total of 4 megabytes. So yeah, I have this disk image that I have running on this SCSI 2 SD, and it is basically System 7.1, which works on a lot of old vintage Macs. I mean, a 7.1 will even work on a Mac Plus, and it'll work right up into the Quadras, and it's got every system enabler installed so that you can load this up on just about any Mac that will run System 7.1. And then I've got a few utilities on here as well, you know, for going in and testing things. So I have, I do plan to share this one day, this disk image. I've already, you know, I've shared it with a few people that have bought SCSI 2 SDs from me, but yeah, and it's, you know, it's a bit of a mess. Some of it needs tidying, but things like Open Transport and that I have all set up here for if I'm wanting to install network. I don't know if anyone has ever seen this, and Steve from Mac 84 stream, this is Open Transport that I've got here, and I've installed it on computers many times. I sent it to him, and for some reason he can't get it to install on his computer. I've watched him do it. He hasn't done anything wrong, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't install on his computer properly. Okay, so what I'm looking for now is a speedometer. Oh, wrong keyboard. Hope I didn't break anything. Yep. Speedometer. Let's see if I can find it. Speedo 402. So we're running 4.02 of speedometer here. This is available on Macintosh Garden if anyone is wanting to try this out. It is basically just like a benchmarking tool. Norton Utilities has a benchmarking tool as well. I quite like speedometer. I like the way the interface looks and all that. There it is in all its 16 color glory there. Not yet. All right, so LC2 6803, you can see it's recognizing. It's got a 68882 FPU that it did not have before. We can run up here to go tests. Whoop, tests. Run all tests. It doesn't take that long. It's not like running a Geekbench or something like that. Who's keen to see big Geekbench results on the ARM computers? What have I done? What did I do? Tests, run all tests. Or did I go to the wrong thing? Tests, run all tests. What? What's this saying? Why am I getting menu reference? Why is... Can someone tell me that? I've never had this before. I'm going to try it with a quick key command, see if I have any more success with that. It's just bringing up a menu or a help menu. Have I done something stupid? Apple R? Or is it A? I can't see. It's really hard for me to see this. A. A. There we go. So for whatever reason, I was having issues with the menu there. Okay, then it asks you which drive to use for the speed test. And for me, I would like to use the actual built-in Quantum rather than SCSI to SD. These external SCSI to SDs, the 5.5, they're not as fast as the internal ones, just so that everyone knows. There's a convenience aspect, but they're a little bit slower. Okay, so we're going to go through and do a little bit of a CPU test. We don't expect the stats to be good on this because its baseline is a Quadra 605. And obviously this is well slower than a 605. 605 is an 040 chip, this is an 030. I'll go here and do a little bit of a monochrome display test. And when you run these on a faster computer, this thing just flies through, so yeah. There we go, there's graphics, there's the disk. The disk won't be particularly fast either, it's an old Quantum, so we're not going to see any blazing performance there. But there it gives you an idea of Quadra 605 is set on is 1, baseline of 1, and we're talking 0.2. So we're talking about like 20% the speed of a 605. Okay, there we go. We've got a math test. Wow. And then this here is a whole bunch of tests. This, again, this shouldn't take too long. It's certainly a hell of a lot faster on a faster computer. No surprises there. But yeah, this is such a slow computer. Oh dear, you know. I mean, I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be cruel to the old LC II, but yeah, they're slow. No doubt about that. I think even at the time when they were being sold, people were complaining that they were slow. You know, it's a brand new computer. They're just buying it and they're getting it home and going, "Oh wow, this is slow." Can't have been too happy about that. Oh, what is the box plugged into the SCSI port? Sorry, I didn't see that before. My apologies, world in hand. Yes, as someone mentioned there, it's a SCSI to SD, which is basically just a SCSI hard drive emulator, which uses compact flash as the storage medium. They come in lots of different flavors, and if you want to know more about them, if you jump onto my YouTube channel, the Brankus Creations channel, go to the featured videos. You'll find a video there of SCSI to SD review, and I basically go through all the different types. There's, you know, I go over the version 5, the version 5.1, the version 5.5, and the version 6. There are lots of different types of SCSI to SD available, all for different purposes. So here's the FPU benchmarks. Yeah. Now I've got to sit through these annoying graphics benchmarks. Sorry, these don't take too much longer. This puts my 12 core to shame. I want one. Yeah, I mean, yeah. They were slow, they are slow, they're slow. But look, there are still plenty of games you can play on these if you're a gaming person. This is something I was sort of talking about to someone the other day. I mean, there are lots and lots of games made for these. If you, after, you know, first-person shoot 'em up, then you're sadly out of luck. I mean, you could probably get Wolfenstein running on here. Wolfenstein 3D, you could probably get it running on here with maybe a fairly slow refresh rate. I've probably got it on here. We can always test it, can't we? But yeah, it's not going to be a fully immersive experience. I can promise you that. But you know, if you're, you know, for example, you could quite happily play, you know, Sid Meier's Civilization on this. I don't know if anyone is aware of a game called Warlords. Yeah, Warlords. Yeah, I came in a couple of floppies in the day. This will play beautifully on this, really will. You have a great gaming experience playing that. That's a nice strategy game. You wouldn't be able to get, you might get Warcraft running on here. Warcraft came on a CD, but I think probably Warcraft, yeah, you might want to be on an 040 for that. But I think it probably does, as long as you've got the space to copy everything off onto your computer. I think you can probably play Warcraft on this. It has a 640 by 480 requirement. You won't be able to play it on a 12-inch screen. For the original Warcraft we're talking, not World of Warcraft or anything like that. Okay, the tests are done. And let's just do this. And we have here, we've got this option here to go analysis, system comparison. And then what you have to do is you have to open up, it's a lot easier if I do this here. You have to open up, come on, open. Where are we? Whoops. There we go. Speedo 402. I hope Machine Records, this one here will do it. There we go. So what this is this is a record of a whole bunch of speed tests on lots of other different computers. So I can go and run a comparison on the left and right. Now I'm hoping there'll be LC2 here. There it is, LC2. So we can compare this to the original LC2. We compare them side by side, and obviously the main thing you see missing from this one are any floating point benchmarks. And you can clearly see that we've now got floating point benchmarks on the left. We don't have them on the right. So yeah. I don't think you can play Myst on this. I love Myst. It's definitely a game that I love playing, but I don't think you could play it on this. But in terms of the CPU, the math, yeah, okay. So the original one without the floating point unit, the math is getting 0.72. This is now getting 0.88. So we've definitely seen a speed improvement with the math coprocessor here for doing those math calculations, but other than that, they're all pretty much the same. So, actually, you can see on the left here, these ones here, you can see that these ones are definitely better than the ones here. So this is when it's doing all of these mathematical calculations here. With that floating point unit in there, it is definitely getting better results than on that side. So, sure, it's going to be a little bit faster, not blazingly fast, but it is going to be a little bit faster, so that's all good. Now, speedometer has a tendency to crash when I do this, so I'm just getting ready for that. And it usually stuffs up the benchmark file while it's doing it, the machine record. We'll just see. I don't know why it crashes, but it does. I mean, it's not just this computer, it crashes all the time. Just like this. And you watch now that machine record file will be wrecked. So I'll have to grab another one off a backup, which is rather annoying. So let's just go in and restart it, because there's just one more thing I want to do before I wrap it up. Bing! Just restarted it with the keys, for anyone who's not familiar with that. With these ones that don't have a physical restart button, you press Control, Apple, and the power button on the keyboard, and then it's the same as pressing the reset button. Okay. Nate coming in on the end. Yes, I'm sorry, but we are definitely wrapping up here. Myst barely played on G3 blue and white. Yeah, no, well, I mean, it was originally designed to run on like 030s and stuff like that. So I think it had to have a CD in it. So yeah, so maybe like a 2VX or something like that. Myst will run on a really slow computer, so I would run it with. I think it would run fairly well on a G3 blue and white. I would have thought. Myst plays great on my LC3. There we go. We've got people backing me up on that one. ATI Centris 650 back in the day. Yeah. What did I just read? I just mixed two up here. It ran, but that ATI Rage 16 megabyte had serious limitations. Yeah, okay, yeah. You just need faster CD-ROM. Yeah, I mean, obviously these days you just copy them all onto local hard drive, you know, because we've all got bigger modes of storage. When I played this, I just copied the whole thing onto the computer. Some of those other sort of adventure type games that I really liked, there was one called Secrets of the Luxor, there was one called Zork Nemesis, there was another one called Time Lapse. Some of those really enjoyed those. I enjoyed playing those sorts of games. How's everyone coping with me up in the top left-hand corner? I'm not freaking anyone out, am I? So, I just want to quickly go in here and see if I have got Wolfenstein. I probably have. I've got a little... Whoops. I can't click there. Oh, jeez. Dun, 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 dun. Mm-hmm. Multi-bit system. Where are we? Games. One of the great things about old, you know, System 7, System 6, or anything before OS 10 basically, was the fact that you could just drag and drop system folders. It was great. This is my little games folder. There's Warlords there. I was talking about that one before. There's Wolfenstein 3D. Let's see if Wolfenstein will run. 16 colours. May not even run. Yeah. Not enough memory to open. Dear. Yep. Okay. We don't have enough RAM in this computer to run it. So, should I put more RAM in it? Oh, shut it down and stick some more RAM in it. Just so that we can say we tried. I'm not even sure if it's going to run in 16 colours. We'll see. And off. I'll just steal the RAM out of mine. I've got here. Hey! That's weird. This one's quite different in layout to mine. This one's probably a later one. So what I have here, I think I have 4 megabyte sims. What are these? Yeah, well, these are 4 megabytes. See, I label mine 4 megabytes. So I've got 4 megabytes. That means with the 2 on board, it'll take us up to 10. That'll take us up to the maximum. All right, so let's just put this extra RAM in, and we can enjoy the excitement of a game of Wolfenstein 3D that will probably be so jerky it'll be impossible to play. RAM test. They made a true 3D mist called Real Mist. Yes, I know, I've played that. Actually, I've got it tucked away somewhere. It's quite an amazing experience playing that, having played the other one. It's not starting, is it? That's a bit long for a RAM test. Let me just switch it off. And we'll just reseat this RAM here. You may not like these sims. I know it works in mine, but as I just said, this particular LC is quite different to mine. LC2. It's definitely not liking my RAM, is it? I'm just going to do a restart, see if it does anything. Oh, nothing happening. Okay, doesn't like my RAM at all. So, you know, I'm not going to do any more with it at the moment, because that will, yeah, that's, yeah. I don't want to, you know, bore people with sitting here and watching me fiddle around with RAM. But there is something I can do. Oh, I just dropped it. Come on. Really don't want to drag RAM across the floor with my foot. It's not good for it. Okay, sorry about how dark it is in that screen there. You know the reason why, but okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just very quickly disconnect this. And I'm going to put my LC board in here because I know it works with that RAM. As I say, there are differences between this LC2 and my LC2, and maybe that's something to do with maybe some different ROMs or something, and maybe it doesn't like those RAM sims that I've got in mine. But I'm not going to spend too long worrying about it because I don't believe it's an actual fault with the computer. I think it's probably more likely just being finicky with RAM, because let's face it, anyone who uses any of these old Macs knows that you often end up with very touchy computers. I mean, I had an SE30 that just, if you didn't have things set up with the exact right configuration of RAM in there, it just wouldn't work. And the old Mac 2s, I mean, far out, man. I mean, you got to have the right RAM in those. Okay, that's there. That's there. It's going in. Clickety click. Right. Okay. I'll be quick. I'll be quick. I promised to be quick. This should work. It certainly did at some stage. So this is also an LC2, but as I said, it is slightly different to the one we just had. It has also been recapped by me. It has also got an FPU in it that I installed. The only difference is I installed it with a different coloured socket. My socket is brown. That other one I just did was black. There we go. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Times are wasted. So that chime. So we know the RAM is okay. It's just that one doesn't like the RAM. So okay. All right. Love Return to Zork. You know, interestingly enough, I have never played Return to Zork. I played Zork Nemesis, the one that came later on, which is sort of like, 3D, but I've never played the old Return to Zork. Funny hell that. Okay. I'll boot up. We'll just fire up Wolfenstein 3D, see if it runs, and then we'll wrap things up after that. I just wanted to turn this like into a Mac 84 stream, like Steve, where he goes in and plays around a little bit with software. Get ready for a processor warning at launch. Okay. What, telling me it's too slow or something like that? Probably should have booted. There we go. Here we go. Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. I've already got the Wolfenstein song going in my head. This looks like it's got more colour on this one, doesn't it? Dun, 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 dun. If anyone's wondering why the camera just moved, then it's because a bunch of pigeons just flew past it. Damn penguins. Alright. Alright, okay, let's see. Let's see what happens. Has a 6803. Oh yes, okay. May run slowly. Thank you very much, Nate, for warning me of the warning. May run slowly. Let's just get rid of that may bit and say will. May take forever to launch. Ah, no. Okay. So basically the reason why we haven't been able to get there is because of the number of colors we have here. I've got this. Look, I could go in and get it to work. I could change it to 512 by 384, so I'd have thousands of colors, and then I'd be able to get it to run. But to be honest, it's just all going to end up getting way too long, and I am getting hungry. So I will shut this down. I will say thank you to everyone who joined me today. To the 26 people who are still watching, congratulations, you win the prize. Actually, speaking of prize, I am planning on doing a couple of giveaways coming soon, so just be on the lookout for that. Some of them will be giveaways on things that are probably only going to be in Australia, but some of them will be small enough to send overseas. So I've got some exciting stuff. It's not really that exciting. We've got some giveaways coming up. Mainly trying to get get a few more subscribers in there. I went past 1,700 subscribers the other day, so that was a nice little milestone again. So thank you to everyone who has subscribed. Thank you to everyone who has watched the video. Thank you to everyone who pressed the like button. If you haven't done it, please do it. That would be greatly appreciated. And or dislike. Yeah, as I said, either way, it's fine. Okay, all right, okay, so I am going to sign off now. I say thank you to you all. I will see you at the next stream. I will probably be streaming during my weekend because I do have so much recapping to do. And I will see you next time. Bye all.